Justine, Shier, Open IFBB Pro Bodybuilder and Olympian, known for his wild proportions and training style, received his pro card in the 2021 National Championships, won first place at the Chicago Pro in 2023, and went to Olympia.
A lot of people underestimate what poor gut health can do and how it can affect not just your contest prep, but like, growth phases, guys who aren't growing because their guts are a mess. And I kind of dealt with that this off season where I started this prep and we started driving food, and I was like, I'm eating more food right now in this prep than I was during my off season, and I'm leaner and dropping body weight. Listen, dude, my off seasons with Matt, where I've made those big leaps and bounds in progress, where everyone's like, wow, you went from an amateur to the Olympia in one off season. I screenshotted this cycle to show him, and I'll show you right here. That's 750 milligrams. It's dangerous that a lot of people put that out there and create these misconceptions. If you're running dosages like that, you do not need to be titrating dosages if you're getting a response. I can't have my kids losing me at 58 years old. 58. And my mom got diagnosed with stage 4 terminal cancer at 58 years old. It was like, what are the fucking odds of that? We are continuing to push our bodies to the limit and expecting yourself to feel good every day when you're continually taking these things to the complete extreme from a load exposure standpoint, from finding maximal recoverable volume. Our whole goal is to do as much volume as possible to right where it's like, we're going to be fucked if we do a little more, and then we just pull it right back here. Well, this still is a zone where you're not going to feel great all the time, but it's where you make the most progress. When you're training, I want to think about driving a car from stoplight to stoplight. I want to accelerate, and then I want to ease on the brake and stop, and then I want to accelerate out. It just doesn't have to be slow. Too many people mistake smooth, consistent rep cadence with slow reps, and that's just not the point. I'm a big proponent of frequency. I think that weekly volume split in half across 2 days is actually going to yield a better result. I'm going to be on the Olympia stage in 2023. Right. I said it, I believed it, and obviously none of these things happen without the hard work to back that shit up, but I think a lot of people doubt themselves. There's one thing I could tell somebody, like, speak it and do the work necessary, but believe in yourself and put it out there.
Yo, what's up, bro?
What's up, man?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. How's my audio?
I'm fucking... It sounds terrible.
Does it? For whatever reason, dude, I always get roasted on podcasts. People talk shit about my audio, but like I've got a nice Rode mic here. I think I just need to have it closer.
Oh, it sounds even better when you have it closer. It's almost like Ian's.
Maybe I should hold it.
Yeah, probably better if you just like whisper into it the entire time.
It's ASMR. I'll just try to get a little closer here. I had this kind of punched in because this backdrop, like if I'm to the side a little bit, you can see the edges. Mm-hmm. But now that you're here, I can push it back a little bit.
It's not the famous kitchen backdrop, is that?
That's the same one, yeah.
Sorry, if my tongue is super blue, I'm like trying this new thing. Have you heard of methylene blue?
Methylene blue, yeah.
So I just I started playing around with it and decided that I immediately loved it the first time I took it, and I can't tell if that's placebo. Could probably be.
So what do you
placebo.
What do you feel you're getting out of this? Just out of curiosity.
So the first time I took it, I felt like I was getting some mental clarity, because sometimes, I mean, it really depends on my sleep, but sometimes I just feel like I'm so mentally foggy in the morning. And I tried taking it first I tried doing it a buckle method and then swallowing the pill whole, but I just feel like it just kind of cleared up my mind. Which is nice, because otherwise the only other option I have is like smashing coffee and an energy drink and a bunch of like nootropics and shit at the same time. So
yep, for sure. Which
then affects my sleep later in the day.
Yeah, I know how it is, dude. I honestly, there's something to, even if it is a placebo, I mean, that's powerful, man. That's your mind doing the work for you. So
yeah. Have you ever experimented with it before?
The methylene blue, I have not, no. But I'm more of just like a coffee guy. I just drink coffee all day.
I'm a coffee guy too, I swear to God. I don't just like blow some rips all the time.
Damn, that is fucking blue.
That's the one thing I don't like about it. It's blue as fuck, bro.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've heard, but there was like this one guy who, like, I think he overdosed himself with methylene blue, and he died, and then they did an autopsy and his brain was blue.
Whoa.
Fucking wild.
I know that, like, are you pissing blue? Is your pee super blue?
Not yet.
Really? Yeah, I've seen that.
So maybe I should be titrating up the doses.
Yeah,
I've heard about that too.
I'd lean into it a little more till the pee's blue.
Sounds a little concerning. The thing that I like about it though is Dr. Scott Shier, who's an expert in methylene blue, said that I believe it was created initially in 1896, and it was made to basically dye jeans blue. And they found out the people that were doing the dyeing of the jeans in the factory specifically were way healthier than all the rest of the people in the factory.
Interesting.
So they ended up in.
I've heard a lot. Like my mom passed away from cancer at the end of 2022, and around that time there was a lot of discussion around methylene blue and it having positive effects on, or I guess negative effects on cancer cells. So I think a lot of people have had success. She had like esophageal cancer, so his esophagus and in her stomach. And I tried convincing her at the time to like just chug methylene blue, and she wasn't into it. But yeah, that was kind of my first introduction to it, because I have heard people having success with treating cancer, oddly enough.
Right. Yeah. It's super interesting.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear about that, by the way, bro. It's
that's okay.
I know we're starting off this Sunday at a weird place. I'm kind of in a weird headspace myself, because to be honest, I don't really see any point with my nut. My girl just like her best friend in the entire world, like her only close friend passed away yesterday. And it's kind of weird because like it's I don't know, man. I'm in one of those places where normally I have like I adopt a good positive perspective over things that happen, because my best friend passed away on 7/11 4 years ago, which was just a couple days ago. And then on that same day, the night of, I was thinking about him the whole time. I was telling Lexi like on Monday of the week that his angelversary is coming up. And then that night, she gets a call randomly, and her friend Hannah just tells her the news. And kind of felt like the whole world was just like falling apart, because like there was no expectation of it, man. It's not like she had cancer or anything. It's not like she was sick or anything. It was literally like she broke her foot like 2 weeks ago, and then she was just healing like anyone does from like freaking a broken bone or anything. But then she just got this random blood clot out of nowhere. So
it's tragic, man. Yeah, I've lost I've lost a lot of people close to me. I've lost, uncles and, grandparents and, my mother, and nothing prepares you for that stuff, and it never gets easier. And I will say that there is some value during those times. It really shines a light on what's important and can really, paint a very clear picture of the people in your life that are actually meaningful and impactful. And there's some beauty in it. It's really hard. Like when I lost my mom is, still even just talking about it coming up on 3 years, it's unbelievable. But it doesn't get any easier, but you can start to see the I guess the value in tragedy sometimes. It can bring a lot of people closer together, and yeah, I'm really sorry to hear that, but that's tough, man.
No, I appreciate you sharing that, man. I know that I understand that at these times it's just kind of really like no one ever really knows what to say, no one ever really knows what to do or what to say. But
what I remember, I'm sorry to interrupt here, but like I remember feeling guilty, like going to the gym after my mom passed. And I remember thinking like, is this normal? Is this how I should be processing this? I mean, I was getting ready to start a contest prep. That was leading into that prep for Chicago in 2023. She passed away in October, and I was competing that year. And I remember feeling like maybe I shouldn't be doing this, and that I felt guilty for being able to compartmentalize and go to the gym and stay in my routine. But ultimately, I knew that was the most valuable thing for me in that moment, was to maintain my routine. And I also knew that my mom, the first thing she would tell me is like, go to the gym, keep working, and focus on you. Like, I know my mom wouldn't have wanted me to sulk and give up in that moment. But it's still, we can kind of convince ourselves and, put a lot of pressure and guilt on ourselves for continuing on with their lives and maintaining that routine. But ultimately, that's what I found to be the most productive thing, was just to continue maintaining my routine, wake up, do my cardio, eat my food, train, be there for my family. You know, I have a little sister that, you know, lost her mom at 20 years old, you know, so I still had to be strong and be there for my siblings and my father. And, you know, but ultimately maintaining that routine and staying focused and focused on my goals, it helped me a lot, you know. And I think it can derail people, because a lot of times you think what's expected of you is to pull back and to mourn and to not continue to focus on yourself inside or in light of these tragedies. And I just think that's the wrong way to go about it, personally.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I think it's like bringing me a lot of thought right now, because I don't know, I feel like, so after I lost Ryan 4 years ago, I had another best friend that passed away a couple years afterwards. And when that happened, I felt like I had some sense of like, it felt a little bit different, to the point where I'm like, I've been here before. And like, while I'm going through the motions, I feel like this is at least a familiar terrain. But now it's a little different, because basically the way that I see Lexia, when I met her, she was this person that just she had this beautiful family, these amazing parents that really took care of her. Like, I don't feel like she has any, like, I'm just gonna be transparent, I'm not sure like how to like word this in the proper way, but like she just grew up with an amazing family and just amazing people around her. And she, unlike me, like doesn't have the issues that I have. Like, I've got fucking issues, you know, like I'm like, yeah. I'm going to therapy and shit to address things that I've experienced through childhood. Like, I wasn't able to have any friends growing up, since my parents they just didn't really allow me to. It was kind of like this traditional Asian household. And I did not have a good relationship with them. And then I left home at 15, and then I had a bunch of friends that passed away. And then basically my entire journey was just being alone. Whereas for her, it was the opposite. Like, her mom was always there, always there to like check up on her. So was her friend Liv. And so basically this entire time, I feel like this girl is giving me a piece of something I've never had before. I feel like she's offering me this insight into like this life with a family that I could actually have, that I didn't have before. Like, this love, this experience, this like connection with family that I have always wanted. And so my thought process this entire time was like, man, like, I want to protect this girl, because all she wants is to move back home here from California back to Kentucky to be with her family and be with Liv. And so the last year and a half, I've just been preparing myself to change the direction of my life. And where I thought I was going to live in California for the rest of my life and like do this content shit, maybe I can go to Kentucky, maybe I can make that work, even though it's kind of like the middle of nowhere. Maybe I can like build a gym there with her, you know, maybe I can settle down and do something sweet and nice. And so, yeah, she would just be texting Liv every single day and just talking about how she can't wait to be home again and how she misses her. And like, then she would tell me like, I feel so bad that you and Dion had to go through this, losing Ryan, one of your best friends. I don't think I could ever get through that. I don't know what I would I don't know what I would do. And I just feel so blessed and feel so much gratitude that I have, you know, my parents and I have Liv.
Yeah.
And then out of nowhere, two days ago, Liv is gone. So it's kind of just like derailing the train.
Yeah,
it's just so shocking, man. So
yeah, I mean, it's hard.
It's kind of another reminder that anything can happen.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking, man, and I hate hearing that. But I will say that just doesn't mean that, you know, those opportunities aren't still out there, that you couldn't still continue to follow through with that plan. I mean, it sounds like I will say, from my perspective, I live here in a very small town. I'm in Grants Pass, Oregon. It's a really small town of like, you know, under 40,000 people. And this is where I've built my entire, you know, career, my professional career. I own a gym with my wife. My brother and I own a few businesses. I've been able to be very successful here within my town. And I've still been able to continue to network and get myself out there and grow my personal brand as far as my social media goes, and, you know, traveling and things like that. And, you know, obviously just connecting online allows, you know, the access for content creation. And I'll be honest, I get a little bit jaded, You know, I have a really beautiful home here in this quiet area. And sometimes I don't appreciate that for what it is. My whole family's here. My dad, my sister, my brother, you know, everybody's here. And there's a lot of times where I feel like, man, I want to escape this small town. You know, I want to get out and I, you know, maybe go to California. Maybe I want to move to Texas, Florida, somewhere bigger where there's a little more culture, a little more bodybuilding culture. And then I go and I spend a week or 10 days out there, and you just can't wait to get home to the simplicity of what I have here. And I always appreciate those opportunities to gain a little perspective on how fortunate I am to be here with my family in this small town, the privacy I have. And it's a really intimate place. And, you know, there's a lot of value in it. So if you are kind of worried about making that transition, man, I wouldn't be. You know, I think it's there's a lot of value in it.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that a lot. I think that's going to help as well, because I think the thing that's the heaviest on my mind right now is being scared of what's to come with this transition, because the main part of the transition was allowing her to be with the people that mattered the most to her.
Yeah.
And now that the person that matters the most to her, you know, this girl that she's known her entire life, that like, bro, I needed to step up my game. I need to be up to like this girl's standards. Like if I'm not up to the best friend standards, then like I'm not the person, right?
Yeah.
And she ended up being the most supportive, amazing person in the entire world, and now she's gone. So now I'm just like, I don't know what Lexi's going to do. I don't know what she's going to want. I know she's going to still want to be with family, but the purpose of being specifically in Kentucky rather than like, long story, this other like Florida where her other family also visits, it's like, I don't know, it just changes the route. And my perspective has been a little bit weird recently, where it's like where I'm almost feeling like for some reason my entire life has been tainted with some sort of pain or some sort of hardship, and hers has just looked so pure. And yeah. It's almost weird, bro. It's like, why is it on 7-Eleven? Like, I don't know. Like I'm not normally very like woo woo like that, but
right.
It almost feels like I taint the purity that I surround myself with sometimes.
Nah, man, don't say that, dude. That's a terrible mindset to have. I mean, that's a pretty big burden to carry. You know, but I will say there's a lot of power in thought. And so my mom, her mother passed away. So my grandma passed away. And I know we're just talking a lot about death and personal stuff here, but she passed away at 58 years old from a brain aneurysm. It was really young. It's tragic. You know, we were just kids when it happened. And, you know, when my mom passed, my dad told me, he was like, you know, your mom, ever since grandma passed, that number 58, she kept just saying like, 58's too young. I can't leave my kids that young. You know, 58's too young. Like she was a smoker at the time. She quit smoking. It was like, I've got to be here for the kids. We've got to be healthier. And, you know, I can't have my kids losing me at 58 years old, you know, 58. And my mom got diagnosed with stage 4 terminal cancer at 58 years old. It was like, what are the fucking odds of that? You know, and my dad was like, she made it happen, you know, like talking about it so much. And you know, while there's probably, you know, nothing to support that, you know, the power of thought and is really powerful. And, I just always try to encourage people to avoid, you know, negative thoughts like that, because thoughts become things. Not to sound like fucking Kai Green here, dude, but you know, the mind is powerful, and you can convince yourself of some things and make stuff happen that wouldn't happen otherwise. You know, not that, you know, my mom's thought process on that actually made that happen at 58 years old, but just kind of bizarre.
Yeah.
Anyway, dude, what's up, man? Aren't you in prep? Are you dieting right now?
Bro.
Yeah.
I'm in prep too.
How many weeks out?
I am 11 weeks out.
11 weeks out.
Of basically today. Yeah.
Sweet. Okay.
How does it feel to be back on prep for you? It's been like 2 years since your last show now?
Yeah. I mean, well, I did the Olympia in November of 2023. So it's been about, so I essentially started dieting a little after a year of an off season. So yeah, it's like little over a full year completely off and away from stage. I'm excited, man. I feel really good. And I mean, it's, you know, right now what
I'm fucking excited, dude.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I'm 3 weeks out. So it's like energy super low. I don't feel great, but you know, you just have to ignore all that stuff and keep your eye on the prize. Cause, you know, we only get to do this for so long, and it's such a blessing to actually do what you love for a living and be able to kind of give your all to something. So I'm really grateful. I'm excited. And I think I'm going to bring my all-time best for sure.
That's sick, dude. I'm really excited for you too. And to be honest, like I'm just a big fan of everything that you're able to do, bro. Like the fact that you're on 3 weeks of prep, and like I know you had a lot going on for us to be able to fit in this podcast and everything, but the fact that you even own this business and you're juggling your cannabis business along with prep and bodybuilding and creating content and your YouTube videos is kind of fucking mind blowing to me, bro.
Well,
honestly,
I'll be honest, and just for the audience here, like I blew you off 2 times in a row. Like I didn't intentionally do it, but my toxic trait is just kind of like saying yes to everything. Like a contractor's like, hey, can you meet me here Tuesday at 1? I just say yes. And then my massage guy's got an opening at Wednesday at 3, and I say yes. And then I'm like, you want a podcast on Wednesday? I'm like, fuck yeah, let's do it. And then I like get there and I'm like, wait a minute, I have a dentist appointment, a podcast, and I got to meet the contractor here all on the same day. I'm this super busy guy that is just disorganized. So I need to work on that. I need to get better at using my calendar app on my phone and maybe putting a little fucking thought into things before I make commitments. But we made it happen today, so I'm excited.
Yeah, dude, me too. And I appreciate that. I don't think that's weird at all, man. I feel like the most stressful thing, like there's a lot of fucking stressful things that we also have just talked about. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that I think is one of the most consistent pressing feelings, like just a feeling of pressure on me, is like when you have things just stacked up and you don't really know if you're going to actually be able to make the time for them. You've just like scheduled things in a row. But most of the time, for me personally, I end up, I never ever get everything done that I plan to for the day ever.
Yeah.
It always ends up being pushed off to the next day every single day. And it's just this running feeling of like a lack of abundance of time, which is like the opposite of what I should be feeling or what I should be doing.
Yeah. Well, what I always say is that I work a little better under pressure. So I have a tendency to just put a little more on my plate than I probably should. And to me, that feeling of having a lot of work to do and being extremely busy and a touch overwhelmed, it's kind of what keeps me going. And I really, the opposite of that is like not having anything going on stresses me out. Like on a Sunday when I don't really have much going on, I get super antsy. You know, my wife knows. She's like, why don't you just calm down? I'm like, I don't feel calm. I just feel like I need something. And I have to work on it a little bit because it's not necessarily a healthy thing. I should just be able to, lounge and kick back and give myself that feeling of just, relaxing and shutting it all down. But that little bit of chaos for whatever reason, just to me keeps me going.
Yeah. I feel like I'm in this like consistent sympathetic drive, to be honest, which I don't think is probably the best thing for bodybuilding, but yeah, I don't know. We're making that work.
No, it isn't. And I've had my body kind of push back, and I've been a lot better about it this prep. I really have. This is kind of this prep's been a lot different where I'm actually able to, compartmentalize and put some things aside and say, hey, Sunday's my rest day. I'm not doing a fucking thing. I just absolutely need to shut it all down. I read my book all day and just relax, watch some TV with the wife and just allow myself that. Cause when you're go and you're pushing, your body can push back. So like anybody who's ever been in a contest prep where you're kind of riding hard for a long time and then you just start seeing, body weight, increasing, you're holding water, you're a little inflamed. And then you have that day where you just kind of pull back and let it all go. Those days are super important for the success of a contest prep.
Yeah. I was actually about to ask that same question, but is there anything else like more specific that you feel like has you've seen happen in yourself personally whenever your body has done that pushback?
Starting this contest prep, I did like a pretty extensive gut health protocol because last year I just had a lot of really bad gut health issues. I was constantly bloated. I couldn't really push food, because every time I'd eat a little bit of food, I would just be constantly distended, and I was really struggling. So coming into this contest prep, I did an extensive gut health protocol with Dom Kuza and my coach, Justin Jacoby. He kind of oversaw everything, and we worked on this together. So starting this prep, I started with a very healthy gut, and it has made just a profound difference. I don't think just in how my body responds, but like mental acuity, like how I feel, my energy throughout the day, my mood. I mean, I've just been so much more responsive to little diet changes. And I think that's made a profound difference. And I think a lot of people underestimate, what poor gut health can do and how it can affect not just your contest prep, but like, growth phases, guys who aren't growing because their guts are a mess, and I kind of dealt with that this off season where I started this prep and we started driving food, and I was like, I'm eating more food right now in this prep than I was during my off season. And I'm leaner and dropping body weight. So like it was just kind of a crazy shift for me to see. So I strongly suggest that, if you're ever dealing with any gut health issues, reach out to someone. I know Dom Kuza helped me. He's a super smart guy. But I also know like Dom Super Slice. He's another guy that I know has helped a lot of people with their gut health issues. He's a super smart guy, really sharp.
Okay.
But get a GI map, figure out what's going on with your gut if you're having some serious issues, and get that shit addressed, because it is a killer.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, because I think that's very that's an undervalued thing right now. I mean, even though people are talking about it more and more, I still think like it's just not focused on enough, or the problem is just like brushed under the rug, because it's like, it's hard to hone in on what the issue probably is.
Yeah.
Because I think most bodybuilders kind of just end up feeling some sort of like bloating or flatulence at some point, like maybe even if it's regularly. So it's hard for you to be like, I have like an actual GI issue right now. So one guy that I had on my podcast, I don't know if you've heard of Austin Stout.
I recognize the name. I'm really bad with names and faces, especially right now at 3 weeks out, but
well, he is kind of like the guys that you were talking about, which I think is cool, because I haven't really looked into the info that like Dom Super Slice provides.
Yeah,
though I've heard of him. But Austin has been an expert on GI health for I don't fucking know how long, if it's been like 15 to 20 years or so. He's helped a bunch of really big coaches and athletes like Terrence Ruffin.
Nice.
And I think because of my pod, a few of my homies ended up hooking up with him, and well, in the way of a client coach relationship, and my boy Jarek Crew too.
Yeah.
And Jarek has said that Jarek basically just came off of everything, like all PEDs, all compounds, and just focused on his gut health for like a whole year with Austin, which is mind blowing to me. But apparently now it's like, it's just made a world of change, where he feels like he's maintaining the same like amount of muscle mass on basically nothing, but just since his gut is working properly.
Yeah.
And at high quality.
It's kind of crazy how much of a difference it makes. And I was a little stressed out starting this contest prep. Like I said, I was working with Dom Kuza, and he dropped me to 4 meals a day. We came off all PEDs. I was doing like 100 milligrams a test just to kind of keep, baseline hormone levels. But I went from 275 down to like 255, and I was just small and under eating, and I felt fat and flat and worthless. And I'm like, dude, I'm 24 weeks out. Like, this is bad. And then we kind of slowly, ramped food back up and added some fun stuff. And I was just like immediately so responsive. And a lot of that came back. Like, I do think that maybe, well, had I have done this 6 months prior, then yeah, I'd probably be in a better position for this contest prep. But it was so necessary at the time that, that small little setback still was able to kind of propel me forward in this prep. And I'm in a much better place than I would have been had I have not done it at all.
Yeah, that's one of the most interesting things that Austin has talked about, is that like you will see that people that improve their GI tract or their gut health, he normally sees them being able to respond significantly better to the compounds, the same dosage of the compounds they're taking.
Well, I will say, like last Chicago prep,
it's kind of mind blowing to me, I guess.
Chicago prep, I couldn't really do any orals. I would take 25 milligrams of Winstrol, and I immediately would just get like a crazy heartburn and stomach was distended, and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't really tolerate any orals. So it made it hard kind of driving progress there towards the latter stages of a prep, because we had to be really mindful of our inputs. But this year, you know, all the wind straw in the world, I'm just fine. I'm just kidding. I'm not hammering anything more out. To be honest, I'm just getting more out of less. I feel like, you know, these low dose, like, you know, 25 milligrams, like, damn, I like immediately saw a difference, felt the difference. Like, you know, leverage is improved in the gym. I felt better. And you don't always get that. Sometimes when you just feel like we've all been in an off season phase where we're really heavy and bloated, and, you know, you like it, let's say you start a cycle, like, and you're like, I don't even really know if this is doing anything right now, because I still feel sluggish and you know, I think that's kind of a different conversation where a lot of people will drive up body fat too far and hinder their own progress. But ultimately, like right now, I've been way more responsive, and I just feel a lot better. And, you know, we're able to do big high days where I'm able to digest and utilize a lot of this food, where in previous preps, I just wasn't. We would just feed me a little bit, and I would have this massive like body weight response to the smallest amount of food. So it's made a big difference.
How high are your high days now?
Every meal is like 400 grams of white rice. So like 5 times a day.
Damn. Yeah.
And I've been doing that like meals 1 through 4. Then meal 5 has been like a consistent cheat meal. So I've been going to In-N-Out and doing 2 double doubles and 2 large fries, like
that's fire.
every week, the whole prep. It's been pretty cool.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is something I need to do right now. Fuck. When is there any point in time where you felt like the gut issues just started exacerbating? Was it from like a specific prep, or do you feel like it just kind of grew over time while you were bodybuilding?
I think, to be honest, if I look at like my entire life, I have always like, I didn't even really realize as a kid what bloating was. And I was just really sensitive to food, and, you know, we would eat food, and I would like, my brother always had like 6-pack flat washboard abs, and it fucking upset me. I was so insecure about it. And because we would go like swimming in the summer, and my parents would barbecue, and I would eat my chips in a sandwich or whatever, and I would feel bloated. My stomach would stick out. And my brother just looked like this picture perfect guy. I'm like, what the fuck is that? Why don't I look like that? And so I have always kind of had these bloating responses to food. Just been really sensitive to certain things, and over the course of my career, I've been kind of able to figure out, you know, what foods trigger, and what works and what doesn't. But I will say, from the beginning,
sure you weren't just fat?
I was definitely a little fat. I'm not gonna pretend like I wasn't a little fat, but I was like a husky. I was like a thicker guy, you know. I was a thicker kid.
Yeah.
But it definitely continued to exacerbate. Like, I did my first show in 2019, so I'm pretty new to this. I haven't been doing this very long. And in the beginning, you know, I was able to kind of get away with like more cheat meals and no issues. And then come 2021, 2022, I was like, man, I think I might have like some gut health issues. In 2023, that prep was a fucking disaster. Like, I didn't really get in shape. I won Chicago, but I couldn't get in shape. I was doing 2 hours of cardio, and I was doing basically no food. I had like 50 grams of rice pre and post workout, and that was it. White fish all day. I mean, we were pushing like a son of a bitch for conditioning, and it just wasn't happening.
Holy shit.
You know, I don't know what the hell was going on. And then we kind of came out of the back end of that. And just because of how hard you drive down into these holes, like coming out, I felt like, hey, my gut health is fine because I'm able to eat food and I have this huge appetite. But that off season through 2024, it just progressively got worse and worse and worse. And we did what we could, kind of managing food amounts and not driving food too hard, because I just knew I just couldn't tolerate the higher food amounts. But there towards the end of the off season, I was like, dude, this is a total disaster. Like, I need to fix this. And that's when we kind of, you know, reassessed there towards the end of 2024, coming into 2025, and then starting this prep. But yeah, I'd really say that prep of 2023 and then my whole off season of 2024, just like, and I ignored it, you know. And I think you just kind of you touched on that, where you're like, you know, bodybuilders, they'll ignore, being bloated and farting and like burping and like, it's just part of it. I'm in an off season, I'm eating tons of food, of course, but it's really not that normal. Like I really like to prioritize my athletes. I like to see athletes consistently getting hungry between their meals. Like I want to make sure that your blood glucose levels are in a good place. I want to make sure you're consistently getting hungry. You're digesting and utilizing these nutrients the way they need to be. And I think a lot of people ignore that. And I think for some people, driving up into these higher body weight ranges and really pushing things far can be helpful. You have a smaller, skinnier guy that you take from 200 to 220 and he's a little bit chubby, but you see him put 100 pounds on his deadlift, and leverages continue to improve in the gym. And in that case, you're going, hey man, you're way fucking stronger at this body weight. So let's ride this out and continue toggling things to where we're improving on leverages. But for me, as I got heavier and as I continue to push food, getting down to the bar was harder and leverages were not improving. If anything, they're going in the other direction. So for me, staying leaner, staying hungry between my meals, it's just been a lot more beneficial. And I think for most people, that's how it's going to be.
Gotcha. I was kind of like you when I was younger too. Huge fat ass.
Well, I wasn't a huge fat ass. Come on. Jesus Christ. I was disgusting just like you.
No, I had gut issues though, like my entire life, to be honest. And I always thought, bro, like I ended up getting diagnosed with ADHD when we were around high school. So obviously started pounding the Adderall and everything. And I would have these issues where, there was just no focus at all. And I ended up finding out personally that a big cause of that not only was like my issues with sleep, but it was even especially more so just my diet choices. Like I would basically eat anything, man. I didn't have any like food restrictions, and I would be bloated every single day. I'd be farting every single day. And then I fucking realized after my fraternity drank all the milk for like an entire year and I couldn't drink skim milk anymore. The next time I drank it, I fucking just basically cleared my entire colon out. And just actually exploded one of the toilets. So found out I was lactose intolerant. And as it continuously progressed, I kind of just ended up playing with a lot of like elimination diets and found out that certain foods just didn't like play well with me, especially certain processed foods too. So even if it's like a processed chip that's like created with avocado oil and it's like made with like minimal like, I don't know, extra ingredients or chemicals or anything, no red 40 or whatever. The fact that it's like almost just processed too, I can feel the difference that it makes in my mental acuity just after consuming it versus if I ate a normal clean meal. There's just like small little things that I broke down to the point where now it's like, for example, if I get on a podcast, I just make sure not to eat anything specifically heavy for at least like an hour to 2 hours prior, which is a little bit hard with the whole bodybuilding thing. But I realized like, I'm at the place now where I haven't needed my Adderall prescription for the last 3 years.
Oh,
I've
man.
been able to work at a fluency and a level of focus that's higher than I've ever had throughout college, which I fucking wish I had back then.
That's great, man.
Just pounding Addy. So, and also doing the kind of things that you were doing, like being a little bit more aware of my off season and my gut this last off season. I feel like my waist right now at like 11 weeks out is a lot smaller than it was last year at 11 weeks out. And my own coach is even saying like, dude, waist looks small. Everything looks like it's coming in really quick. So I really think there's a lot of merit to gut health that guys should be focused on.
That's huge, dude.
Nowadays.
Yeah. Your gut, your waist is tiny. So like you talking about being bloated and gut health and being fat as a kid, it's kind of surprising.
Bro, your waist is tiny.
I think yours is smaller than mine. I mean, yours is ridiculous. No, yours is smaller. No, but yeah, you look good, man. I've been following you for a while, watching your progress, dude. You look sick, man. I really like some of the front shots that you hit, like the teacup pose that you rock. It looks super good on you.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate that. I was trying to say the same thing to you, but now I'm just gonna sound weird if I say it now.
That's okay, dude. Say it. But, I want to hear it. Seriously, say it.
You straight up have like some of the craziest upper body proportions in the entire league, in my opinion.
Thanks,
and
man.
I think in a lot of opinions. So the whole like front double bicep that everyone basically just goons over, I think they have good reason to.
Appreciate that, dude. Nasty. Yeah, I'll never be the biggest guy. It's just not ever going to be my game, and I understand that. So I just need to play to my strengths. Like I know I've got really good shape. I've got good symmetry, got good round bubbly muscles. So as long as I'm peeled and peaked well and full on stage, I can show off my attributes, and I'm very confident heading into a show standing next to guys that are a lot bigger than myself. You look at, I get a lot of criticism because, I'm going to be, I'm in low 230s right now. I'm a smaller guy when it comes to open bodybuilding, but who else was a smaller guy? Dexter Jackson, Sean Ray, these guys, Lee Labrada, that just absolutely dominated the Olympia stage, even Flex Wheeler, some of his best looks were in the low 220s. I mean, these are legendary bodybuilders that are smaller guys. So just bigger isn't always better. And I just need to continue focusing on playing my game and not getting caught up on the size game. And I will say, Matt Jansen, my coach, prior to Justin Jacoby, I'm working with Justin now, but I was working with Matt. He helped me turn pro. He took me as an amateur. Matt took me from an amateur who was placing barely in the top 5 at the USA's to winning my pro card and being on the Olympia stage in 3 years. Matt was a fucking legendary coach. Matt's the man. And, he was always focused on like not rushing things. We never people always assume these guys are jamming crazy amounts of insulin and GH. And you look at my protocols with Matt and it was 4 IUs of GH, and I never did insulin with Matt. And he never pushed things. We were slow and steady.
Oh, you're just a liar.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's, that's definitely what everyone says. And, listen, most 4 to 6, we definitely push into 6 during contest preps. But a lot of guys, you look at my progress over those years and you just read the comment section. You're like, fuck, man, people think I'm running 4 grams a year and 12 IUs a G. That's crazy, man. But I was lucky to connect with Matt.
It's weird, man.
I was lucky to connect with Matt early on, and he didn't do anything extreme, and he helped me preserve my lines and made sure that I didn't rush this process. And I'm very grateful for that.
So this is one thing that I like about my actual real ass audience, the real ass motherfuckers that actually watch the podcast.
Yeah.
Most of the guys that listen to the podcast are very aware and very logical and very smart. And they've also listened to enough information in bodybuilding to kind of understand as a whole, what seems to be true. Yeah. And I think from across the board, the people that listen to the podcast understand that. And what I've noticed is that there are bodybuilders that have run some fucking insane cycles, man, some crazy high dosages. And I know personally of some stories of some specific guys, even some of the top 5 on Olympia stage, that have some crazy cycles. But from what I know, the things that we like to talk about are always the things that are the craziest. The things you find on the news are always what's the craziest. Polarizing time. And so I've heard people discuss the cycle, but then when other people hear the story and it gets played in this game of telephone, it suddenly turns into this guy has always run this much. Yeah. And then suddenly it turns to tons of bodybuilders, tons of open bodybuilders run this much. And then suddenly it turns to all bodybuilders run this much. And if they don't, then they're lying. And it's crazy, man. Because it's it's running a lot of other people in a hole. Because if you're believing that shit and you start taking that, it's going to affect your what's going to happen to you in the long run, man. You're not going to have a long-standing career. Yeah, it's dangerous that a lot of people put that out there and create these misconceptions. And I actually had a client come to me. I gave him 4 IUs of GH. He's never taken GH before, and he was like, "Hey, man, I got a buddy who told me that 4 AUs is basically, useless. We shouldn't, that's a therapeutic dose," which just isn't true. 1 IU of GH is more like a therapeutic dose. And I was like, listen, dude, my off seasons with Matt, where I made those big leaps and bounds in progress, where everyone's like, wow, you went from an amateur to the Olympia in 1 off season. I screenshotted this cycle to show him, and I'll show you right here. Let's see if I can get this to, you can see right there, that's 750 milligrams of testosterone a week. We had NPP and we pulled it EQ 500 weekly, Primo 500 weekly, a little bit of Anavar, AIs, and then 4 IU of GH. This is my full-blown off-season cycle with Matt Jansen. That is, what is that, under less than 2 grams a year and 4 IU of GH. And that's
that's just what I've always ran and got away with and improved with. Like if you're running dosages like that and you're continually seeing leverages improve in the gym, you're getting stronger, visuals are improving, you do not need to be titrating dosages if you're getting a response. And that's what people don't understand is they see things like you're talking about. They see guys running grams and grams of gear and they're thinking, okay, well, I'm not seeing the response I need. It must be the gear. When you're not looking at your food, they're not looking at their training, they're not looking at their sleep, they're not paying attention to gut health, and they just start titrating dosages to get a response. And some guys, listen, man, bodybuilding isn't fucking for everybody. Just like you're never going to see a fucking midget in the NBA, dude. You won't. And there's a lot of guys that are midgets trying to fucking be in the NBA. And it's just, you know, you have to be objective and look at this and understand that the guys you're looking at, like, you know, maybe, you know, myself and some of these other top pros, like, you may not have our genetics and it just may not be in the cards, and you need to be objective with yourself and not push the envelope with drugs trying to achieve what some other guys are able to do. Like, I know top guys, like, you know, I'm friends with everybody, you know, like I've talked to Samson about what he's taking, and you wouldn't believe how low the dosages Samson is taking to build the amount of muscle he has. I mean, it's just absurd. And it's just, you know, you can't expect to have that if you don't have genetics like that, you know?
Right. I remember you were talking about Keon in a podcast where he was like, I can't remember, was it Branch Warren or something? He was like training styles with like Branch Warren and stuff. And at a certain point, he was just like, bro, I can't train like this anymore. It's like fucking destroying my elbows and like all this shit. And then you were just like, well, bro, you're Keon. You can train almost any kind of way and you'll fucking blow up.
Yeah, for sure. And that's not to say that Keon doesn't train extremely hard. He does.
Exactly.
Keon
he does.
Yeah, clearly. He trains really fucking hard, and Keon is dialed in, and you know it works for him. And that's a man on a mission right there. You know, but is it necessary for him to train like Branch Warren? Absolutely not. You know.
Right. In fact, it's probably less optimal, anyways. You know? Yeah. So some of us just aren't, like me specifically, especially. Like I freaking like. Dude, I was just walking this morning, doing my fasted morning cardio, and I'll do as fast of a power walking as possible. I started getting this intense knee pain just out of nowhere, like randomly. Like, it just like, bro, I'll do anything. Like, I'll like go like, I'll freaking like, I'll pick up my backpack off the ground, and suddenly all of a sudden I'll have my shoulder just like feel like it's popping out of place and stuff. It's just like the most random shit where I feel like some people just don't have the genetics to be built with this level of like, I don't know, fucking titanium indestructibleness. Yeah.
Well, how old are you?
I'm in my late 20s.
Okay, so you're just a baby, but that's also like, you know, obviously being younger, I could get away with a lot more stuff than I can now. But you know, a lot of times, you know, we are continuing to push our bodies to the limit and expecting yourself to feel good every day when you're continually taking these things to the complete extreme from a load exposure standpoint, from finding maximal recoverable volume. Like our whole goal is to do as much volume as possible to right where it's like, we're going to be fucked if we do a little more, and then we just pull it right back here. Well, this still is a zone where you're not going to feel great all the time, but it's kind of where that zone is where you make the most progress. So, you know, we're talking about extremes here. You know, we're not the guys that are training Monday, Wednesday, Friday in the gym and you know, our weekend warriors. So I think it's to be expected. I think a lot of guys come to me like, hey man, I feel like a little bit of joint pain. Obviously we want to manage these things and we need to be mindful, but there is just something to be expected. Like, yeah, dude, your legs are going to be sore, you know, and it's going to be uncomfortable sitting down on the toilet after a really fucking hard leg day. And, you know, maybe your elbow starts to hurt a little bit. You know, like you can't avoid these things if you're trying to build the most amount of muscle possible. And I think there can be like a diminishing return if you're fully set on making sure that you're like never in any pain. Like, I'm sorry, dude. You're gonna.
That's not gonna happen.
Yeah, you're gonna have a little bit of discomfort. We got to push things, you know, to an extreme, and obviously monitor these things and don't, you know, aggravate. I'm always a big proponent of like training pain free. If you've got like an elbow issue, don't do something that pisses off your elbow, obviously, you know. But I think that too many people get caught up in like, obviously the current climate of like managing fatigue and doing things optimal. It's just created this like environment where people feel like they should never be fatigued, and they should never feel run down, and they should never need a deload, and they should never need time off from the gym because they manage things so well in their training. And it's like, dude, that's just not how the biggest bodybuilders in the world have built the most muscle. You know, it's just
right.
It just is. And it honestly, I find myself rejecting those ideas more and more. Like I am kind of seen as like I know I get known for my training quite a bit, and a lot of people like my training, and I get associated with like really slow, intentional, methodical training. And to be honest,
there's a lot of questions in Q&A about that, by the way.
Oh, really? Yeah. So, I mean, to be honest, I am not a fan of slow training. I think a slow negative can be beneficial, but I also think a slow negative can be really overrated, overemphasized, and completely unnecessary. I would like to see guys move well. I want to see a consistent rep cadence. I want to see like a pause in the lengthened position and load the stretch as much as possible and control in those end ranges. Make sure the change of direction is smooth. You know, I always like to say, when you're training, I want to think about like driving a car from stoplight to stoplight. I want to accelerate, and then I want to ease on the brake and stop, and then I want to accelerate out. You don't want to, you know, do a burnout and then lock it up at the stop sign, and then do a burnout and lock it up at the stop sign. Find that rhythm to where you're consistently easing in and out of those end ranges, and just move well and move controlled. And it just doesn't have to be slow. To be honest, I think too many people mistake like smooth, consistent rep cadence with slow reps, and that's just not the point.
Right. If you feel like any of the medications that we spoke about today may benefit you, such as BPC 157, GH secretagogues such as Tesamorelin, IGF1, oxandrolone troche, Semaglutide, then you can obtain these from Trensparent HRT, and the link for that will be in the bio. If you feel like you're experiencing symptoms of low testosterone, such as depression, anxiety, lack of motivation, as well as lack of sex drive, then you can get this checked out as well by getting your blood work done at Transcend, and they will provide you expert medical analysis. Transcend HRT has worked with many professional bodybuilders and pro athletes, such as Thor Bjornsson, Phil Heath, and Jeremy Buendia. And if you feel like this podcast has any relevancy to you, I do believe that this clinic will provide of great benefit to you as well. This is something I've talked about with Wesley Visitors about our buddy Eric Janicki's training, which I think one of the problems with Eric's training, in my opinion, is he focuses so much on the stretch, but it's almost like this over exaggeration for. Like he does this on a daily basis, but in my opinion, whenever he's like performing it for for a video, for example, it almost feels like an over exaggeration to press what people should do, but then people take it to the extremes, right?
Yeah.
As he is. And in my opinion, the places where I found the most growth for him, looking at his transformation and also knowing him in person and seeing his workouts, is when he implements that specifically for his leg days. Because what is he doing on most of his actual leg days is he's actually just doing big compound movements like hack squat, where he's controlling the negative at the biggest stretch and then controlling the change of direction, but he's still fucking hitting it hard. He's still going as heavyweight. He's still going as close to failure as possible. And then he's having a fuck ton of volume throughout the workout that he can manage. And it's like different than when you're doing like when you're doing that on a hack squat versus when you're doing that on a single arm cable row. Your eccentric naturally on the hack squat is always going to be longer.
Yeah.
And that's where it makes sense. But in the upper body exercises, I feel like it can work for that, but it doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't provide any extra benefit. The benefit is almost, in my eyes, I feel like it's almost the same across the board, whether or not you decide to go that slow, or if you want to do it a little bit quicker at a more consistent tempo and end up hitting more reps at the same load. Like you're still providing this stimulus for growth as long as you get as close to failure as possible. Yeah.
And I think the literature supports that. I mean, it'll show that there's really no difference between a 1 second negative and an 8 second negative. I think anywhere from that, like 2 to 3 second negative. But like you said, something like a hack squat where there's a larger range of motion and heavier load, I think it makes a lot more sense to be in that 3 second rep range, opposed to, let's say, a bicep curl or cable pull down or something. Like, it's just not necessary. And what I see a lot of guys doing is focusing so much on this negative that it is not, the tension is not in the muscle. You're seeing it in the joint. Like, you're seeing these guys loading the shit out of their biceps, just kind of struggling to maintain this like 5-second negative. And I think it's hurting people, to be honest. That's why I always just encourage move well, move smooth, control the end ranges, and just don't really worry about like that speed in between, because it just is not that important.
Mm-hmm. How close do you feel like you go to failure on each set? And then how many times do you actually go to failure per workout, would you say?
Well, I'll be honest. I'm kind of like a go to failure every single set of every single movement. I will say I just enjoy that. And I'm not saying that's the most optimal way. Like, I just really like training hard, and it's just what I feel like has always worked for me in the past.
Right.
Now, there's some caveats here. Let's say I'm doing a lateral raise. I will do a lateral raise to failure, and I'll jam out 15 fucking partials. I don't give a shit. You're talking about a lateral raise.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about a leg press where I've got 10 plates aside, 12 plates aside. I hit 8 reps, and I could maybe get that one more. I'm probably not going to take it. I just don't need it. I think it can be a little dangerous to take that final like shit your pants rep on a leg press or a hack squat. And the return on investment, I just don't think is there when you're talking about how much that can detract for the subsequent sets. So let's say I could get that 9th rep, but it is a motherfucker. And I get off that leg press, seeing stars, and I'm out of breath, and I'm, and then the next set I underperform because I put so much into that final rep. So I think there is value in like some reps in reserve. I don't personally subscribe to like a 3 reps in reserve. I'll leave 1 on a big compound movement, like a deadlift. Let's say it's a stiff leg deadlift, and I know I could probably grind out 1 more. I don't always take it. Sometimes I do because I want it. Sometimes I do that final rep on the leg press because I fucking wanted to take it today, and it felt good, and I went for it, and I annotate that in my logbook, and I make sure that like, I will leave notes to myself, like, got 10, took the last rep, probably shouldn't have, whatever. Or maybe it went well. Maybe you surprise yourself. Sometimes you end up smoking that last rep when mentally you think you don't have it. And I think there's also something to be said there to kind of pivot off of. When we're talking about reps in reserve, I don't think you can effectively train reps in reserve unless you've done those hardcore fucking shit your pants reps on the leg press. Like, if you've never completely buried yourself and never done a hack squat where you're going down in that last negative and you're fucking terrified it's not going to come back up. Like, if you've never actually gone back up, hit a wall, and then had that hack squat bury you, then you just don't know. You don't know what your perception of failure is skewed, because a lot of times you'll think, okay, I've got 2 left. And then you do 2, and then you do 3. And then you take a deep breath and you do 1 more. And then you're at the top one. Fuck, I might have 1 more. So if you've never done that, I think you absolutely need to train balls to the walls, hardcore failure sets before you can accurately assess what reps in reserve looks like. So I think, one has to come before the other.
This is why I wanted you to get on the pod, bro. I remember listening to your, whenever I'd listen to you on a podcast, I always just felt like you were like, I always just felt like you were so logical, and like you would always say the responses that I like wanted to say, but it was harder for me to like put into the right words.
To be honest, bro, I was a little worried about how inarticulate I might come across today, because I'm fucking smoked. I'm so tired and hungry today. I just did like 45 minutes of cardio and had 1 very small meal before this podcast, and I'm drinking this coffee just like hoping I get some mental acuity and I can come to life. So I'm glad that I'm able to perform here a little bit.
Yeah, you're doing a good ass job.
I appreciate it.
I actually, that's hilarious. I did literally the exact same thing too. Did 45 minutes of cardio, and then had my coach isn't gonna like this, but I did only have 30 grams of protein before the podcast, so I wouldn't be
okay,
too full.
Because you like to have a lower food amount before these things. You feel like that keeps you a little sharper?
Yeah, I just can't have my gut too full, man. My mind is way too sensitive to how much is going on in my gut. So the more empty my gut, the better I feel, the more clear my mind is.
Yeah. Do you feel like carbs throw that off as well? Do you feel like a high carb meal?
100%.
Yeah. Interesting.
Now, if it's carbohydrates, like from cyclic dextrin, for example, that fast acting carbohydrates, I have no issues. Like, I don't know if it benefits my brain or not, but I definitely have zero issues. And I'd suppose because it's just a very fast acting and easy access way for the carbohydrates to be absorbed and then maybe go to my brain as glycogen or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's total BS or not, but
maybe
if I have any
but
starchy carbs or anything like that.
It's interesting you say that, because if I do like some, cyclic dextrin, I have a hard time with that stuff. I get super bloated and I don't digest it very well. But white rice, potatoes, I'd be just fine. Like it's the exact opposite for me.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah,
that's awesome though. That's that's so crazy to me. I fucking love the podcast because people will always surprise the shit out of me, and then this is just another point for me to tell people, like, you can't keep assuming that somebody. You can't. Everybody is so different in every aspect. Fucking training, nutrition, gear, everything. It's nuts. That's why some of these coaches blow my mind. I'm just like, I don't know how you guys like freaking P-Tor and Hanny and stuff. Somehow you're able to tailor your program perfectly for every single client and just like learn their body. It's mind blowing to me.
Yeah. I mean, that's what good coaching is going to boil down to, is your ability to communicate with the athlete and get these biofeedback markers and understand what works and what doesn't. A lot of people get stuck in their ways, and that's just not good coaching.
Mm-hmm. So regarding the training, and since we were just discussing your training style and also the cycles that you were going through in your last off season that made you grow, I don't know. I think one of the cool things to me is that like you are new in the field and that you started, your first show was in 2019, which is crazy. That's when I got my fucking pro card and I fucking suck. I guess I'm just so curious, like, because I have a few questions about just training and a bunch of these other things that apply to this, but I feel like it would be more important for me to lay down a foundation and kind of understand where you came from here. And I know you've talked about your past and your training and what got you into bodybuilding before, like how it was kind of like a competition maybe with a friend, like he bet you like I'll do a show if you do a show type thing, right?
Yeah, it was a friend of mine who was like a men's physique guy. And I was just like, dude, do classic. Like at the time, 2019, I think classic came out, what, 16? Is that what year it was? I don't remember, but that was like,
I'm trying to remember, but yeah.
Breon Ansley was winning the Olympia at the time. And I was like, dude, men's physique's gay, bro. Do classic. And he was like, if you do classic, I'll do it. I was like, all right, yeah, whatever. And then I was like, start talking to my wife. And then listen, at the time, like I'd been training natural for, 6-7 years at that point. And my wife and I owned a gym. Like I loved training and I loved physical fitness, and my wife was a power lifter and we were super into it. We, started a gym together and this was our passion. And
do you remember how heavy you were at the time?
I was like 195 to 200 ish is kind of where I sat.
Holy shit.
Natural. Yeah. So
yeah. And how tall are you?
I'm 5'8". So.
Okay, cool. Same.
Like I said,
if I add half an inch.
Yeah. Me too. Probably at this point, I think maybe the barbells shrunk me down a little bit. But we were gym owners, and obviously, I trained 5 days a week, and I didn't have like the working knowledge of bodybuilding and diet. And it just, I was more, focused on my businesses and that type of stuff. And training was just, maybe a little more of a hobby than it was, what it is now, obviously. But at the time, I'd had zero plans of competing. I just never really wanted to compete. It's just something I didn't want to do. I was like, focus on the businesses, started the gym. I have my cannabis businesses. I'm happy and I felt fulfilled. And then he kind of made me that bet. And I just got home and I was just thinking, I was like, fuck, maybe I will. I was like, all right, I'm gonna do classic. I'm gonna try to do classic physique. So I reach out to his coach at the time, a friend of mine. And he's like, okay, let's get you on some drugs. He gave me 500 milligrams of testosterone. It's my first cycle ever. And I started that prep at like 204 pounds. Like we kind of pushed up to like 205, 207. And then I got on stage as a light heavyweight of 198. So like I lost like 6 pounds the whole prep. So
Whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah, so I
feel like it was a kind of like a grow into the show type situation since it was your first cycle?
Yeah, I probably put on like 15, 20 pounds of muscle, probably, I would say.
Fucking sick.
Like I needed to be leaner. I wasn't as lean as I needed to be, but I still like won the overall at the show and
yeah,
was set up. But I basically started and finished that prep at like the same body weight. So it was kind of a trip, just like watching myself over this 16-week prep just get harder and harder. And like it's my first cycle, so it's just all super new to me. But yeah, that's how it started. And then as soon as I did my first show, I didn't make the classic weight cap. I couldn't get down. I thought I could. I started the prep at 200 and I needed to make like 188.
That's fucking insane.
I thought it'd be easy. I was like, I got 12 pounds away and I just never made it. So
Holy shit,
yeah,
bro.
so I just
I'm fucking I'm trying to make the classic weight cap right now.
Yeah, so I did bodybuilding and like I did that first show and I was like, oh, I'm a bodybuilder. The coach at the time was like, no, dude, you're a bodybuilder. Like you don't get it. And at the time I was like, yeah, you don't get it, dude. I'm classic, like, and, I just thought for sure that's what I wanted to do. Like at the time I was like, Breon was my guy. I was like, Breon's the shit. He's winning the Olympia. That's what I wanted to do is what Breon Ansley was doing. And, I just never made the weight cap. And then, I did open bodybuilding. And then 2 years later, I turned pro. And then the next year I did Chicago, won my pro debut and went to the Olympia. So it all happened pretty fast, to be honest. I mean, I guess
that is fucking sick,
it was
bro.
Competed in 19, turned pro in 21, pro debut in 23, and did the Olympia.
Wow. Okay. That is dope. This is a weird question to ask, but how long do you think that you are going to want to continue bodybuilding as a pro? Like, do you feel like there's like an approximate age or something you feel like you're going to start slowing down, maybe retiring?
I mean, if
I know it's a little early to think about that.
It is, but I mean, honestly, I'm not a young guy. I'm 37 years old, dude. But I didn't do my first show till I was 32. You know, so I think training age wise, I'm still very young. I've been running. I've been on steroids for 5 years. A lot of guys get 20 years competing and I've been doing it for 5. So listen, if I could squeeze out a decade more, I'd do it. I love this shit. I have no intentions of stopping. I don't think I'm anywhere near my prime, to be perfectly honest. Like I think I'll see my prime at 40 and I don't see that going away. I think I'm going to continue to push into my 40s. I know that's a little bit controversial because, white guys getting old, you just don't really see, white guys in their 40s competing. But, my dad is a guy that like at 45 looked like, everyone thought he was like our older brother. He just always looked super young. And, considering my training age and, I just don't have that many miles on me. I think I can do this for a long time. I really do.
I think so too. And one of the things that I liked discussing, I think it was probably Food's podcast, but they're saying that they feel like, trying to remember the exact amount of years, but I'm pretty sure it was along the lines of like, no matter what, whenever you start gear, it seems like guys have at least 10 years in them. Yeah. Before it starts maybe potentially going up in the other direction. But who's the other guy that the dude that like stabbed someone like, it was like 15 to 50 times or something, and he's a shorter black dude that's on the Olympia stage, open bodybuilding. He's like in his mid 40s.
Stab somebody? Killed somebody? Who are you talking about?
I don't know if he killed somebody. No, fucking god damn it, dude! I'm just brain farting right now.
I don't know. I don't know who you're talking about. Now I'm really curious. Chat GBT it. See who this fucking criminal is. This degenerate murderer.
People in the audience definitely know who I'm talking about.
Have you discussed this person before?
I'm sure I brought him up before, but he won Detroit Pro in Open
this year. Wasn't that
yeah?
Isn't that
William Bonac?
Oh my god. Okay, yeah. Okay, I was aware of. Yeah. You're right. He did have something like that.
Bonac is the stabber.
Yeah, Bonac's the fucking man, and he was acquitted. Okay, so anybody out there calling him a criminal, fucking take it back. Yeah, that's funny.
I
forgot about that. But yeah, I was aware of. I'm not aware of the specifics, but yeah, he's a gangster.
Yeah, that guy. It's so cool to see a lot of guys like him who are. I understand that like you're white, but
it's different, dude.
It's so cool
it
to
is.
see
For whatever reason, like I can be racist against white people, like us whiteys, dude. We just don't have the longevity in the game. You start seeing our waists get super wide and our legs disappear. The old
bro. I mean, even like now at your age right now, your face looks like, no homo, but your face looks so fucking smooth.
Oh, thanks, dude. I need to shave. I look a little rough, but
I feel like I feel like you have those young genetics. Some people just do, bro. Some white people, like one of my buddies in my fraternity back then, he was like balding already. He already had a receding hairline at the age of 19. And then you see other guys who just like, bro, like you have a young training age, just having, like you freaking blew up in a few years starting at the age of 32. I'm pretty sure that your peak isn't going to be till 40 or even after.
Yeah, I think so. I think so too. I think I'm going to be progressing into my 40s. No, I don't even question it a bit. But to be honest, I think a lot of that has to do with training natural for so long. Like I was training in the gym consistently 5 days a week for like 7-8 years, natural, and I never even considered taking drugs. I wasn't going to compete. I was eating, four meals a day, like, consistently eating like bodybuilding type meals, like a steak and rice. And, obviously me and the wife would be having cheat meals and stuff, but I had been kind of walking the walk casually, nothing crazy. But, training 5 days a week natural for 7-8 years. And then I ran a cycle and blew the fuck up. Like, you have to have that foundation. Like I had an understanding and a commitment level, and I also completely understood the implications of what I was doing. I didn't go into this blind. I went in with a good coach. I hired somebody who could steer me in the right direction. I had my training dialed in. I had my nutrition dialed in. I was a guy who always consistently got 8 hours of sleep. There was no fuck around in my schedule. So when I started this, yeah, I blew up, but it was also, the previous damn near decade of habit building that allowed that to take place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Regarding the IUs as well, the 4 to 6 IUs, you're not the first person who talked about that being basically the standard.
Yeah.
Wesley Vissers was discussing that, and he and I were both discussing how we've listened to John Jewett talk about how like 4 IUs kind of is like the baseline for super physiological levels that you
I like 6. I'll be out there and say that like 6 IU is usually what I run. It's what I'm running right now. I think 6 IU for me is the sweet spot. I've done 8, I've done 4, and I just kind of like to be right at that 6. That's where I feel like I get the most out of it.
Yeah. I had to titrate up slowly over well, not because I chose to, but because that's what my coaches gave me. When I was with Kyle, it was like 2 IUs at first, and then I went up to 3 with Patrick, and then Patrick brought me up to 4 IUs for this last off season. And then now as prep started, he bumped up the test and bumped up the GH. Not sure what his reason why is, but he's the GOAT. So I'm sure there's a good reason there. And now I'm running 5, 2.5 in the morning, 2.5 at night. Yeah. And, every single time it bumps up, I feel a little bit more numbing in my hands and a little bit more whatever, and then it goes away and I feel fine.
Yeah, some people just can't tolerate it, and it's funny you say that because 2 IUs and my hands felt like they're gonna fucking fall off, and I think that was from years of riding BMX. Like before I bodybuilded, I was really into BMX. I rode bikes my whole life, and dude, I would get such severe carpal tunnel pain that it would like go all the way up into my armpit and my whole arm would be dead. And I just couldn't do it. So I end up getting carpal tunnel surgery on both my hands. So they come in here. Looks like I painted my fingernails. Looks like I'm you here, right? You got your fingernails painted, don't you? I pinched my finger in a plate. Sorry. Oh, I thought you did. Maybe I'm just talking shit, but.
That's crazy.
Yeah, they come in, they slice you open here, they cut the band that goes over the carpal tunnel, and then now I can run as much GH as I like.
Nice.
Yeah.
How so I'm assuming that you obviously felt like that surgery was super worth it and everything, because my mom has carpal tunnel, and I'm sure that I inherited it from her. Yeah, I inherited a lot of problems from her.
My mom also had carpal tunnel, and I don't know how much of that is genetic or hereditary, or just circumstantial or environmental purposes like the BMX. But I've just kind of had it my whole life. I'd go ride motorcycles for the day with my dad and my brother in the woods, and from gripping the handlebars, my hands would just go numb. So it's just always the case. And then I put a little bit of GH in. It was like, holy fuck, dude, I can't do this.
Damn,
so, yeah,
crazy.
So yeah, I got the surgery, and it was a game changer for sure.
Do you remember how much it was?
I had insurance that covered it, but it's fairly non-invasive. I mean, you're in LA, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you have so many good surgeons around there. I mean, it's like it's nothing. It's such a little surgery. I know a guy, so like I did mine one at a time, but I know a buddy of mine in Portland that got it done both hands and was like training within 2 weeks.
Wow, that is amazing. I don't know why my mom doesn't just think about doing the surgery.
Do it, dude. Yeah, I mean, it was like completely like life changing. Because even without GH, like I'm not saying just for taking fucking drugs or growth hormone. That my hands falling asleep at night was just something I've dealt with since I was a young teenager. So I'm always dangling my arm off the edge of the bed trying to get sleep, rotating side to side. You know what I mean? Like you just like fucking shaking your hand and fucking slapping it, trying to get some blood flow to it. So it's something that I've always dealt with, and then it was just completely exacerbated and blown way out of proportion with the growth hormone. So yeah, it was life changing for me.
All right, I'll look into that.
Yeah.
This is one of the Q&A questions, but I feel like it's better to just ask it now anyways, and I'll say his name whenever the Q&A comes up anyways. But he's asking who, and I don't know if there was a who or if it's just something you learned over time, but was there a person that inspired you to train the way that you do, or how did you kind of just start with this type of training?
It was Matt. Yeah, Matt Jansen. When I hired Matt, he was all over me about my training. I was a higher volume guy. I love to do, and this is just like being inexperienced and not really understanding. I used to really like to do supersets and big strip sets and tons of volume, where I'd go like 8 plates on the leg press with like shitty half reps, and then do a strip set, 7 plates, 6 plates, 5 plates, 4 plates, 3 plates. And then I'm doing walking lunges, like just like whatever I could do to just murder myself in the gym.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I started shifting away from that, and I started paying attention to people that are much smarter than me. Like, JP and Matt at the time was a big training resource, and, Mountain Dog, like paying attention to John Meadows. And I started doing my own research as I started to get actually into bodybuilding. So once I was actually bodybuilding, guys like John Jewett, I paid close attention to what he was doing, because he's put out, tremendous information for a really long time. So I started paying attention to these guys. But when I started working with Matt, he was a guy that, like, every check-in, he required that I sent him like 5 training videos, and he picked them apart. Like, he was ruthless and made sure that I trained really well. And he helped me a ton. So really, I drew inspiration from, a handful of people, like I mentioned. But when it comes to, who is there in my corner, building my training programs, helping me with execution, it was Matt Jansen.
Wow.
Yeah.
I got to be real that, with some of the stuff that was coming out about Matt like several months ago too, it's kind of really cool to hear this truth, and I guess this perspective, truth of yours that you've experienced with Matt. Because I mean, I think from anyone that just listens to the stuff a few months ago, there's no perception that like Matt is on top of his clients, helping him with things literally as detailed as like training videos on a regular, Yeah. Because there's a lot of coaches that don't do that.
Yeah, I think Matt obviously reached a point in his life where maybe the coaching quality started to fade in the presence of his other businesses and priorities that he had and his family, and he started shifting away from it. And he was transparent with me and was like, hey, this is, I'm going to be starting to take a step back. And before that whole thing transpired, him and I had very clear communications about him walking away. And then there was just a few like, videos that come out, and unfortunately it's like, Google reviews on a business, but some of these guys have huge followings and are able to put this on YouTube, where like Matt has had thousands of very happy, successful clients, Olympia champions, fucking, how many pro cards has that guy won? I mean, like, he completely changed everything for me. I mean, Matt's the man. I owe him a lot. But yeah, a few people had a bad experience, and that it happens. But sometimes those people just have an audience, and that stuff spreads like wildfire. And it was really unfortunate, because I think Matt at the time knew, like, hey, I'm I don't have the same passion for this that I used to anymore, and I'm going to be walking away. And then it just kind of imploded on him as he was already making that exit, but anybody who worked with Matt in his heyday, in his prime, knows how incredibly passionate Matt was, how fucking smart Matt is, and how dedicated he was to his athletes. And I love Matt. Matt's a friend of mine, and I owe a lot to him for where I'm at now. And right now I'm with Justin Jacoby, who's a Camp Jansen coach who kind of, worked under Matt. And there's definitely a fair amount of similarities there. So it's very comfortable going to Justin, and Justin's a good friend of mine. But he very much does his own thing. And Justin is such a good coach, man. I'm so happy with him. He's a really sharp kid. He reminds me of Matt in his prime. He's very, very passionate. Right now, bodybuilding is it is all he cares about. Being a coach is everything to him. Winning is everything to him. Mm-hmm. So he loves this stuff so much. And, that's what I needed was somebody who could, really be passionate and take me to the finish line of this career. So I'm really happy to be with Justin right now.
The passion is my favorite thing in a coach. When you can just feel it, how much this person loves it, how much this person is so.
You send a good check in, and you can just hear how fired up they are, And it's cool. Yeah. It's inspiring. Yeah. And Justin and I, really cool. We turned pro together in 2021 at Nationals. So we stood on that overall stage together. Matt Jansen was our coach. So there's some history there that really tied in, and it's kind of coming full circle. So it's cool, man. I'm stoked about it.
Do you feel like because I'm thinking about some of the things I remember hearing you say, some other things about how Matt would, you just really felt like Matt really believed in you.
Yeah.
And in my opinion too, from my own personal experience, that's a huge propelling force for myself, is the people that believe in me, especially when it's my own coach. It just I don't know, every week you get that check-in and you just can feel it from him. It really does. It gives me, it's like the drive that's already there. It just explodes.
Yeah.
It just allows it to radiate, and allows me to really, I think, tap into that. So,
I think with Matt, one of his best coaching qualities was his ability to create that self-belief within his athletes. And that came from the sense of belief he had in you. It wasn't that he's blowing smoke up your ass. If he's a very objective guy, but he knew I had what it took to be a top professional, and he made me aware of that, and he brought it out in me, and it doesn't always work for everybody. It's not like his approach would work for every single person. He could create that relationship. You can't force those type of things. But him and I clicked really well, and he definitely created a level of self-belief that I just didn't have before. To be honest, I've said this before, and I naively, when I did my first show in 2019, I was like, dude, 4 years, I'm on the Olympia stage. I said that shit. I was like, I'm doing that. And it's I had no business saying that. But I did it. I actually did do that. I have a screenshot of a message that somebody sent me where they're like, hey man, I could see you in 5 years being a really good pro. And I said, in 2023, I'll be on the Olympia stage. And it's I don't know what I was thinking saying that, but I remember obsessing over that. I remember seriously obsessing over that and just saying no, fuck that. I had this game plan. I was like, I'm going to turn pro. I'm taking the year off, winning my pro debut. I'm going to the Olympia. I just talked about that and made that happen, and really believed in myself. And I got with a coach who believed in me, and obviously none of it happens without, hard work and, good genetics and all these other factors that clearly play a role. But yeah, from very early on in my career, I believed in myself.
What do you feel like has made you most anxious in your journey so far?
Most anxious in my journey so far? We talked about age, and maybe that the biological clock is kind of ticking, and sometimes maybe I feel as much as I want to be patient, I am anxiety ridden, saying, do I have the time? Do I have the luxury to be patient right now? So I'd say that, and I think that my level of patience has definitely helped me. I will say moving forward, I'm not going to be taking any years off. I mean, I'm going to compete every year till I'm done with my bodybuilding career. The way it lined up coming off the Olympia, I just didn't feel like I had the time to progress. And then I had the gut health issues, and I took the time, and now I'm, coming into this prep. So, I would say that probably that. And obviously balancing business and relationships throughout bodybuilding, it can be really difficult. My brother and I are business partners on the cannabis stuff. And, it can put a strain on things when I'm not able to be as present or even emotionally available or excited for things because you're so hyper focused on bodybuilding. So I've had to work on not just completely zoning in on one particular thing. So
what do you feel like causes that to happen? And when do you feel like that happens most?
I mean, that last 4 weeks of contest prep, it's hard to think about anything else, right now you're 11 weeks out. It can feel a little casual 11 weeks out. And then you get to those single digits and then you blink and you're 4 weeks out. And then it's like, it's, you start obsessing over, and it can be a good thing because I think that internal pressure can drive us to work hard and accomplish our goals, but it can also detract from other important things in your life where maybe your relationships get pushed to the side. Maybe I'm not as communicative and open with my wife, and maybe I'm not as communicative with my business partner, and some of these things can fall by the wayside. But as long as you have good people in your corner who support you, who understand what you're going through, want to see you win, you'll find that my wife gives me a lot of grace, my brother gives me a lot of grace, and he wants to see me win, and my wife wants to see me win. So in these times when I'm ultra focused and locked in, I have a fucking wonderful support system of people who love me and want me to win. And that's so important. I can't be more grateful for the people in my life who support me.
Thanks for letting me ask those, by the way. I know they can be a little weird and heavy questions, but
no, it's fine.
It's something I feel myself. And I think the support system, especially for myself, has been more invaluable than anything I could have ever experienced. Because prior to doing any of this, it's weird and hard to say, because I hate it when I'm telling my truth and I'm I never had support, I was alone, all this shit, sounds, I don't know, it just sounds fucking weird for me to say. But I guess the truth of it is, when I was turning pro, and the only person I had was my ex at the time, that she literally gave me this little, for my 21st birthday, I got this little box because it was peak week of my first show. For my 21st birthday, she gave me this little box with these protein flavored, this birthday cake flavored protein bar, and then some other shit that I was supposed to have for prep that there's nothing else I could fucking do for my birthday.
Yeah.
And that was nice to have her, but aside from that, I never had anyone at my shows, and we broke up shortly after, and I didn't really have any friends that were there, and my parents didn't support me because they just wanted me to be an engineer and they thought I was wasting my time, and etc., all these things. So now I'm at the place where having the girl that I have who does the same thing as me, who also bodybuilds and also preps, and being able to have her and even a couple of my closest friends come to my, I don't know, it was so different that the first prep I had as a pro, which was just last year, was it was 10 times easier.
Yeah.
It was 10 times easier.
Yeah,
than
but
others.
would you have been able to appreciate that for what it was had you have not gone through your earlier stages of your life not having those support systems? I think that you kind of have to deal with those things to really appreciate what you have. And I think for you, I know you say it feels uncomfortable saying these things, maybe it sounds like a pity party, but I think you being vulnerable and being open can help people who may be in a situation where they don't feel supported, and they look at you who've curated a career and success despite that, and now you've built an environment where you do have those things. And I think that's incredibly valuable, and I think you should continue to speak on that. And I don't think you do it in a way that comes off like you're asking for pity or anything like that. You're just telling your story, man.
Thanks, bro. Thanks. And you're 100% right. I always remind myself, if I didn't have these experiences, I wouldn't be able to feel so. It's just so much easier for me to feel the gratitude now for these things. Just being able to remember where I came from, remember how there were a lot of years in my life and in my childhood where I didn't even want to be alive, and I didn't even want to be around, where now I can think about everything I have, and it's God, dude, I can't believe I'm here. I forget on a daily basis, but when I really bring myself to that point where I remember where I came from, it's holy shit, dude, I cannot believe I have what I have now, and I feel so blessed to be here.
Yeah,
So
that's beautiful, man.
yeah.
I always say that I had the huge luxury and benefit of being raised perfectly. You know, my mother she was a fucking amazing mom. She was just such a like true north. You know, if you always listened to my mom, you always did the right thing. And she instilled like such amazing values in us. And she was also the mom that like fed me oatmeal and eggs in the morning before school. And we had, you know, steak and potatoes for dinner. And she cooked and she cared and she nurtured us. And my father was incredibly hardworking and valuable or vulnerable. And I never felt like I had to be afraid of my emotions or anything like that in my household. There was never any, you know, domestic abuse or anything like that. You know, we are a quirky family and, you know, we maybe had our issues, but I look back at the environment that my parents created for me growing up, and I know that it played a humongous role in who I am today, and I couldn't be more valuable, more appreciative of that. And I will say that I have, you know, cousins and friends that didn't have that, so I've been exposed to it, and I had, you know, one of my closest friends, you know, live with us through high school because his parents were junkies. And, you know, I've seen the repercussions of what these upbringings can lead to. So it's just, while I have experienced an amazing upbringing and had amazing parents, I've also been surrounded in people who didn't have that. So I have been able to maintain my appreciation for it, because I was never fully sheltered from it. You know, it was always kind of around me. So, I don't know where I'm going with this, but I think, just all I'm saying is that I feel extremely lucky to have had the parents I have and the upbringing and the support system.
Thanks for sharing that, dude. I think this is probably like a conversation that I just really need to have right now, to be honest, because it's been hard for me to click on that perspective in the last couple of days with everything going on. It's kind of been easy to feel like I don't. So I guess yeah, it's so weird to, you know how like fathers want to protect their daughter,
Yeah.
in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's sometimes it's weird for me to talk about it in this kind of sense, even though we know from like a scientific standpoint that it is true that the dynamic that a lot of men have that with their woman kind of like in a way sort of reflects how she had with her dad and stuff. And I don't know, I think this perception that I had with my partner, with my girl, has always been like, I want to make sure that I nurture her to become the best woman that she can, that I'm always supporting her to the best of my ability, and I'm protecting her in every possible sense that I can.
Yeah.
So I think with her having this amazing childhood like you did, where she grew up to be this really amazing person that is very self-aware, extremely amazingly self-aware for her age, which is just, I think, a beautiful thing. And able to hold herself accountable in certain situations, even if she feels emotionally reactive, she's always able to bring herself back to that place where she's like, I understand what's really happening, I can take accountability for it, I don't have to be take this victim mentality, and I can move on and move forward. Like, she's become this really amazing person from her childhood, and I think I just had this sense of like, man, I want to make sure that I protect her from the world's pain, which I know is kind of a silly thought. You just can't. Sometimes life just happens as it does. You know, life does things to you and that you can't control. And I think right now I am being hit with the realization that like that is still the truth, even though I'm the one that incurred through all this pain, and I wanted to continue to be that person and I guess protect her as much as I can. There are these things that are out of my control, and she is going to have to experience a lot of the pain that I have regardless. So
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm trying to process right now.
Well, I think there's like, just as a man, as an adult, you know, you want to be a provider and a protector, and it can provide a lot of purpose. Like, I know I want to be a good provider for my wife. You know, she obviously, you know, works and makes her own money, and she, you know, brings value to the family in her own ways, but there's still that part of me that just yearns to be a provider, you know? So I think there's value. It provides some purpose.
So I guess this brings me to like one of the biggest purposes of my podcast, and why I also openly discuss tread and shit. Because one of the things that I'm just like really into is just the medical community, and I think the idea of mitigating risks to the biggest potential that we possibly can, it just is kind of a cool thing to me. Because one, I'm like, I've always been into health. My dad's like, he's a professor in ag econ, so he kind of studies a lot of I guess some of the health repercussions of like the current diet in America and everything. So I've always been interested in health and fitness, and I think it's super cool that like in bodybuilding, it's going as fucking hard as possible while mitigating as much of the risks as you possibly can in training, in gut health, and in PED use, right? So I guess what I have to ask is like, I know you've told me that one of the things that you're super anxious about right now, or that you have been in your journey, has partly been your age, and like this almost like lack of time. But at the same time, I have noticed that you're super self-aware. You train with a lot of, I think, consciousness in mind, and I think, you know, maybe if it's subconscious or not, making sure that you're not like injuring yourself along the process and doing some crazy shit. Is there anything that you happen to do with like your organ health, your blood work, mitigating risks from PEDs, like ancillaries? Is there any like kind of things that you do on a daily basis, or at least on a consistent basis for yourself?
Well, we talked about kind of you know, hereditary issues, and my mother always had high blood pressure. So when I started driving my body weight up, immediately I just had high blood pressure. You know, it wasn't necessarily PED related. It was just body weight. So that was one thing that I did immediately, was get on blood pressure medication. And I think that everybody should be paying attention to that. You should be monitoring your blood pressure. That's really a big one. So, and a lot of people will be just leery of taking the pharmaceutical, like a pharmaceutical intervention for something like that, but don't be. You know, I don't think there's any better way to address this. Obviously, you know, diet and cardio and not making sure that you're not, you know, too fat. These things can obviously mitigate this. But if you're just a guy who has high blood pressure, medicate. Don't worry about it. I get my blood work done 3 times a year, typically. And I personally think that HD Muscle has the best health line our industry has to offer. You know, their liver and kidney product, their Vita HD, like the multivitamin that we have. These are fucking incredible products. They were all formulated with Dr. Khan. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Dr. Khan, but he's, you know, world-renowned doctor. Guy's brilliant, and he helped formulate these formulations. And so that's something that's obviously part of my daily routine, is making sure I'm consistent with health supplements. And
you got a code?
Yeah, code Shier. Yeah. hdmuscle.com, code Shier.
Fire.
Thanks for the plug. But yeah, I was lucky enough to start bodybuilding with a coach who was very health conscious and made me get my blood work, you know, made me, you know, have a consistent regimen of health supplements. Like Matt was really big on health supplements and made sure that I had a routine built from the beginning. And I think that's not always prioritized with younger guys coming up. I think a lot of people will fire into a cycle and then say they can't afford the liver and kidney supplements. Like if you can't afford the supplements, then you can't afford the drugs. That's the way I look at it. If you can't afford to get your blood work done, you can't afford to have, you know, these things in place to potentially mitigate any issues, then you can't afford to take drugs. You know, your $50 bottle of fucking Trensparent, you know, make sure you put $50 worth of health supplements with that. You know what I mean?
Another reason why it's always maybe a good idea to not potentially blast just 10 grams of gear year round is there's a couple prices to pay, and one is your wallet and the other one is probably your lifespan. So
yeah, for sure.
There's some reasons.
Yeah. I've been lucky to get away with, you know, moderate dosages. I mean, you saw that off season, it was like, you know, 750 milligrams a test. And like, don't get me wrong, I will run up 900. I've run 1,000. I've done these things, but I don't really see much of a difference between 750 to 1,000. And I've just always gained a good response from a lower dose PED approach. And a lot of that's going to be genetics. Some people have different responses. Some people are going to need to push the envelope a little bit harder. And I've been fortunate to where I've just never really had to be overly aggressive with compounds to get a response. So that's just a genetic thing that I'm very lucky to have.
That's another discussion that I really enjoyed that I had with some of my guests, like Dr. Dean, is the discussion of fast versus slow metabolisms that also kind of dictate, your fast, your hyper versus non-hyper responders.
Really? What did he have to say about that? I'm curious.
So basically, if you have a fast metabolism, then it's very likely that the obviously the compound doesn't stay in your system as long.
You gotta metabolize the drugs faster.
You don't really reap the benefits of that compound, right? But in turn, normally you also do not experience the side effects that come with that as much either. So if you are someone that has a slower metabolism and you do feel like you reap the benefits of the compound of, say, like 500 milligrams of test, you are freaking experiencing the same gains as someone as like a gram of test. It's very likely where you tend to feel like if you have similar genetics to them and similar responses in terms of side effects, it's very likely you'll feel about the same types of side effects that they do on a gram as you do on the 500.
Interesting.
So it's like really that's why it's kind of hard to compare numbers too, is like, I understand it's the easiest way for people to, I guess, do their own comparisons. Yeah. And kind of like judge where they need to sit, because everybody needs to do this research in themselves, and that takes forever, right? Like trying to figure out what's the best dosage for you. I understand everyone's just trying to figure it out, but that's kind of why it's like you really need to, after you like go on Reddit and you're like looking up like all the side effects that someone has on 600 milligrams of test and how they feel and how many weight they've gained on 600 milligrams of test. And then you see all the other people saying like fucking, like you see like a comment that's like up like 200 and it's like, no, I blew up on freaking 750 test or something. So you should run that or whatever. Like, I think once you figure out a place that seems reasonable and maybe seems like what the mainstream has experienced as like the rate of gain that you want to gain, I think it's important that you sit at that spot, and then you just at least record your weight, how much strength you've gained, and any other variables you can to like measure how much you've gained over time. Something I've added recently has been like the circumferences of my body parts in my off season.
Yeah, that's great.
Until the end of my off season, and then to prep, and just measure these all, and then see how that's progress over time. And then the last thing is checking out your blood work, and then your blood pressure, and then measuring that on a consistent basis, seeing how that changes over time. For me, for example, going at these higher dosages, I've noticed it's been even harder and harder and harder for me to manage my blood work, or not my blood work, my blood work has been okay, but my blood pressure. Yeah. Like my blood pressure keeps teetering above 130 at these new higher dosages that I've been running, which is telling me like, making me realize like I probably shouldn't go above 750 tests anytime soon. This is probably, I'm making good gains on this. I should probably stay on this for now. Because I'm like already at 800 milligrams of telmisartan and it's still going on above 130. Yeah. So there's just like things like that, I feel like, that are wise for people to pay attention to in order for them to determine what is the best dose for them to run year round in their off season for long term, because you're going to be doing this for like 5 to 10 years trying to gain mass. You're not just going to be doing this for 1 year. So you don't want to have high blood pressure for 10 years.
Definitely. And it can be really difficult to quantify whether or not something's working. And that's one more reason why I like to, keep guys a little bit leaner and not, skew visuals with body fat. I think a lot of people, for some reason, that like gaining 2 pounds a week or a pound a week is like this standard thing where you're like, okay, across 30 weeks, I should be 30 pounds out. Well, maybe. I mean, I don't know. Are you fat after adding 30 pounds? Like, probably not then. You want to be able to keep a good baseline of body fat to where you can assess muscularity. You want to pay attention to these things. And this is where, logging your training is really important. A lot of people will scoff at this, but did you add 100 milligrams of testosterone and then you saw a direct correlation with your leverages in the gym? Did you get stronger from that 100 milligrams of testosterone? Did your body weight increase? I mean, how did visuals respond? Like, you should be, even if you don't have a coach, you should be consistently assessing visuals. You should find a location where you can take consistent pictures and document your off season. Like you said, taking measurements, I think that's great. Any tools that you can use to kind of quantify your progress, and you just have to be patient. I mean, there's just no way you're going to go, okay, I ran a gram of test and in 3 weeks, like, am I better? Is it working? Like, dude, you don't know, so minimum effective dosages, start at a low dose, and monitor things and see if you can quantify progress, stay relatively lean, leverage other things like food and training before you start leveraging drugs. Cause so many people just want to take the easier route of just titrating up dosages. And it's just that's not bodybuilding. The foundation of bodybuilding is always going to be diet and training. And I think that the training aspect of things is low hanging fruit. And I think a lot of people will go in and have this buffet of movement selections where each chest day is completely different. They started with a fly this day and then did this press and then they like this press. And then you went to dumbbells and went back to barbell and then ran barbell for 2 weeks, but then they didn't get stronger on the barbell. So back to the dumbbells. And you're like, dude, you have to be patient and you have to make sure that these variables are all in line to where you can see whether or not you're making quantifiable progress. Cause it's just, you see those guys, and I'm sure you competed with guys at your first show that were doing classic or light heavyweight 6-7 years later. You're like, they're doing that same show as light heavyweights still. Like I have people I followed on Instagram that I did my first show with in 2019 that were light heavies doing the local show. Well, this year I watched these light heavies still doing the same show as light heavies. I'm like, dude, what have you been doing for the last 6 years? So I think as much as some people want to say, you got top guys like, hey, Phil Heath never logged his training. Yeah, well, Phil Heath could fucking open pickle jars for, a few hours a day and have better arms than anybody in the world. You cannot pay attention to what Phil Heath is doing and try to base your progress and your trajectory off of what Phil Heath is doing. Yeah, Ronnie Coleman didn't have a logbook. Jay Cutler wasn't a logbook guy. These guys are not normal people. So it is imperative that you do not pay attention to what these guys are doing and basing. And I'm not saying there isn't some value there. Obviously, Ronnie trained like a maniac. He was extremely strong. Jay trained very hard. He was very strong, loads of volume. Like he hammered it. He never missed a meal. Incredibly consistent. These are the takeaways, not necessarily the fact that they were able to get away with not having training programs. You need to put a little effort into, whether or not you're being progressive, because, you'll go 5 years and realize that you haven't made a lick of progress.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's always big picture, always. Yeah. And I think that's what's very understated and what people kind of miss.
Yeah.
And if
it's tough too. And we've talked about this earlier. We talked about, midgets trying to play in the NBA. Dude, I have had guys come to me where, they've got low testosterone. Okay, we supplement. I'm monitoring things. We're running 300 milligrams of testosterone. The average person is going to get a really good response from this. 3-4 months later, nothing. You have guys coming to me that are running full-blown cycles who don't look like they've ever lifted weights in their life. I mean, you see it. Like, these guys are taking 2 grams of gear, and if you saw them on the street, you genuinely wouldn't know if you might think that guy might go to the gym. I don't know. I really don't know. And this is that genetic response that we're talking about. And that's when you need to look at these other variables. What is your food like? Mm-hmm. How is your training? Are you being progressive in the gym? Are you getting enough sleep? And if all those things are ticked off and you're taking 2 grams of gear and you don't even look like you lift, stop. Just stop. Because it's just not for everybody. It just isn't for everybody. And for whatever reason, bodybuilding is the one sport. You don't see this shit in fucking NFL, NBA. You don't see it on track. You don't ever see anybody trying to set the world record in the fucking, 40-meter dash. You understand that how large of a role genetics play in that, but for whatever reason, every fucking, you know, stringy kid loaded with acne thinks they can make it to the Olympia. It's really tough. There's a really, and I don't want to harp on this, and I don't think that anybody should give up on their dreams or not do something they love and let somebody like myself steer them away from it. But it is really important when we're talking about taking years off your life and affecting your health and these really, really dire consequences when you're looking at running higher dosages, trying to achieve something that is just never going to happen.
The one devil's advocate position I'd have to say to that is, which most people are not going to do, and that's the unfortunate case, is since most people aren't going to do this, then your case is more likely where it's like it's probably a good idea for you to step back from bodybuilding because you just don't have the genetics, unfortunately. But if you do end up having the money and take the time to check your blood work in a regular fashion, and if even potentially necessary, I got my DNA tested, and that was really good for me because now I know my genetics and all the predispositions I have to various diseases.
Yeah.
If you can get that and you do scans accordingly based off of what you feel like is necessary, whether it's symptomatic or whether it's like it's in your genetics and your mom has it right now and you might have it, so you should probably check for it or something at some point. If you're checking these things and you're running high dosages and nothing is changing, like your blood work is still pristine, like you don't have any like soft plaque buildup or whatever, just an etc. Then I feel like there's a potential where it's like maybe I'm just like a very fast metabolizer. Maybe it just means that I have to take higher doses than other people.
Yeah.
And then you still monitor from there. And then if you are making gains and things are starting to move in like a normal pace, then you know. If you aren't making any gains, then I think that's like, and then your health starts going in a different direction.
Yeah.
And I think you know that you're just not made for bodybuilding.
And you've also seen those instances where somebody takes 500 milligrams of testosterone and in 6 weeks their hair is completely falling out and they're covered in acne.
Yeah.
And you know, these are personal decisions. If that's something that you're willing to accept as part of the process, I get it. But you'll also see somebody, they sprinkle in just like the tiniest bit of nandrolone and their blood work is just destroyed. You know, or like you run, you know, you check someone's blood work after 8 weeks of a modest cycle and their blood markers are just a mess. And you just go, oh man, I could have ran triple that for the whole year and my blood work wouldn't look anything like that. You know, and these are genetic things that just we don't have any control over, unfortunately. And, you know, it's nothing to be taken lightly, for sure.
Are there any compounds that like specifically just destroyed you or that you personally just don't want to you probably wouldn't take anymore?
To be honest, I've never really had, you know, any, if I drive nandrolone too high, maybe I can get a little Decadic, you know, but like, you know, I'll take 500 milligrams of Deca, 600 milligrams of Deca and have no issues. I don't really get like anxiety from EQ or anything like that. I really tolerate everything pretty well. I've never had any issues. The only thing, like, if I've tried taking Anadrol and like it just completely messes my gut up and I can't eat, you know, that's the really the one thing that I haven't been able to do. But yeah, so as far as injectables go, I've just never really had any issues or any like acute responses from a health marker perspective. You know, I've been able to tolerate things pretty well. I will say in the beginning,
that's cool.
In the beginning, I had pretty bad acne. So that was one thing I had right away, was just a bunch of acne on my delts, and I took Accutane. So after that first show, I just like coming off of the show, and it was more of just, I think, like balancing estradiol and the big hormonal change. I had a really bad breakout, a little bit of acne through the prep, but I just could not get it under control. And I ran a course of Accutane, and I have not had a single pimple since.
Nice.
You know, Accutane can be harsh,
I
don't always
run Accutane, but I
was just saying Accutane can be harsh, and I don't always suggest it because it's a pretty aggressive way to go about it. But for me, it was very worth it.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool to hear. Yeah, I've heard some people have really good success with it, and then I know it's very mixed.
Yeah.
I didn't run Accutane, but I also had an experience where like my first injection cycle, I had this fucking stupid story where I ran orals first, but my first like actual test cycle, I I don't know if I'd consider myself, I don't know if I would consider that I blew up, but I definitely fucking got a ton of acne and like a ton of like really weird, like clearly test side effects. And over time, I think when I just started to learn how to manage my fluctuations, my hormonal fluctuation better, I just haven't had any issues since. So I feel like that happens to a few people where like initially they'll like feel a surge of like side effects.
Yeah, sometimes you'll have those slowly. Issues. Yeah, exactly. Have those issues in the beginning, and then as time goes by, it can go away. I'll show you. I have this picture. This is what my shoulders looked like when I first. If you can kind of see that.
It's a little blurry. I can kind of see it.
Anyway, just for the viewers here. Actually, I think if I turn the oh, that doesn't work. Hold on a second. I think if I turn, there we go. That's better.
Oh yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like I had pretty bad.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I had pretty bad cystic acne, and I'll show you that like same delt right now. I mean, look like clean.
Look at that baby. Smooth like a baby.
So yeah, you would have no idea. But I addressed it early, so I had a little bit of scarring that like over the next year or so faded. But when you see acne like that, like I immediately had to do something. So if you do have, I mean, that can be life-changing stuff where you can get acne like that and have scarring for the rest of your life. It's tough. We see it a lot. I mean, I don't know if you're a coach, right? You do some coaching, right?
No, not anymore. I was coaching like 4 years ago, and then I just ended up not having more time.
Yeah. So, I mean, I get a lot of clients that come to me, and you'll just see them like, man, how long have you been dealing with this? How long have you looked like that? Like taking your shirt off at the river or the pool, and your back is just covered in cystic acne. I mean, like, and a lot of people haven't been guided in the right direction, whether it's hygiene related, whether it's like, hey, make sure you get out of your dirty clothes immediately after the gym. You shower immediately. Make sure you're changing your bedding twice a week. Like sometimes these things can be a quick fix. Sometimes, like we talked about before, it's like, hey, you just can't run nandrolone because it makes you break out like crazy. So you switch to something else that doesn't create these responses. So there's definitely things that you can do without just going like a pharmaceutical route, like something like Accutane. But that acne killed me, man. I was so embarrassed by it. It was really upsetting. So I'm happy I went the route I did.
I've been training for over 15 years now, and I was too lazy to track anything training wise for about the first 10 years because science-based training's for pussies. But I kept hitting plateaus from burnout, fatigue, joint issues, and injuries, and other factors that at the time I didn't really fully understand, realizing not everyone is built to handle the intense and same workload and injury resilience as Tom Platz and Ronnie Coleman, sad face. I wanted to speed run that shit, but the reality is dudes that have always known their body best are the ones that have been lifting for at least a decade. Shit takes a long ass time to figure out. I started tracking all my training on the Notes app on iPhone because I don't know what paper is. Until recently, I started using the RP Hypertrophy app. The RP Hypertrophy app spoon feeds you step-by-step workouts tailored towards whatever your focus is, or you can customize the workout yourself. Well-educated coaches have always cost $250 to $500 or more a month. I'm paying $500. That's like 10 bottles of testosterone. But if you're not competing or you don't have the money to spend, the app will adjust your program for you every week to maximize your long-term growth. It'll base this on your pump, how fatigued you feel, how your joints feel, and more. It takes in everything to account, none of which I took into account in college because the only accounting I did was counting how many dumpies were in my class. Look, there's a titty. If you don't believe in science-based training, you don't got to do no 3 RIR shit. You can just hoist heavy steel and track it, because we all know that the people who say that they remember their weight sets and reps every week are full of shit. IMO, there's a sort of middle ground where you track your progress and make sure all the variables are right in your food, sleep, gear, progressive overload, and then you go to the gym and slam those heavy PRs until your blood pressure is higher than Miley Cyrus. If you're still unsure, they've got a 30-day money-back guarantee, so if you still don't like it and it gives you a bad tan, you can get your money back. That way, when you compete at your next show, your tan doesn't cost you the first place that you so well deserve. So go to the link in the description below, or you go to rpstrength.com/Nile and use code Nile at checkout. That's rpstrength.com/Nile, code Nile at checkout.
You go full Joe Rogan on some of these. I was noticing you got some fucking 3 hour and 3.5 hour podcast on here.
I'm sorry about that, bro.
No. I mean,
you weren't expecting that.
Yeah, I was scrolling your page before we did this. And it's good. I mean, it's just, it kind of speaks to your ability.
Fuck, it's going to go fucking 3 hours.
It speaks to your ability to hold a conversation and maintain that. I mean, it's, some people can be tough to talk to for hours at a time. But you make it easy, man. It's easy. It's been a very easy conversation to have.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate that.
But I will say I'm fucking hungry and it's almost time to eat. So.
Okay. Shit. All right.
No, we're good.
Yeah, I actually I want to always keep them below 2 hours, but it's actually hard for me. And then a lot of my audience kept telling me, like, I know they're all nice. Maybe they're just being nice, and maybe they're just trying to gas me up and shit. But they keep telling me that they want 3 hour podcasts.
Yeah. Well, dude, people put this shit.
I just do them, so I don't know.
Yeah, people put this shit in their ear and listen to it for all their whole day at work and stuff. So, I know how it is. You put on a good podcast and get 3 hours out of it. It's getting your money's worth.
Thanks, bro. Thanks. Before the Q&A real quick, I was wondering, I wanted to ask personally, what was your favorite pep? What was your favorite pep? Yeah, I can't talk today. Especially when I was talking about that Reddit shit earlier. I don't even know if I was making sense.
I will say,
what was your favorite prep?
My favorite prep, I think that my favorite prep so far has honestly been this one. It's been the smoothest prep. I mean, I'm not done yet or anything, but it has been the most responsive I've ever been. It's the least amount of cardio I've ever had to do. It's been a really good prep, and I like emotionally and physically, I feel really good. When it comes to like my favorite show and my fondest memory, I would say the 2021 Nationals where I turned pro. That show it was a prep where I was unhealthily, like I was way too focused on the show, and I was obsessed, and it put a lot of stress on my relationships. And, it was like, I was so fucking consumed by it because I had a lot of pressure because everyone expected me to win that show. And it was like, I had never really felt that before. It was the first time I was like in the limelight. Like I had competed before, but I was a nobody. And then I was on, Fuad's podcast with 150,000 people watching, and I'm talking about doing this show. So everybody's like, yeah, he's going to win. I'm going, oh my God, And I won, but I was just so obsessed. Yeah. And I'd never worked
so much pressure though, bro.
Yeah, it was,
God,
but
Jesus Christ.
But I had never worked so hard in my life, and that was like the best conditioning I ever had. I mean, everyone said I probably had like the best conditioning in the entire show. Like I felt really good about my conditioning I brought to that show, and I worked really hard for that one. So to get there, and it was the first time I was ever like peeled, so like to get peeled and nailed and win my pro card, my first show with Matt. That one just really meant a lot to me. And I loved that show, man. It's really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there was anything distinctive or special that you feel like worked best for you during that prep or this prep, aside from the gut health?
That prep, maybe that unhealthy level of obsession, where like, I think I was like kind of out of hand with like doing extra cardio, and I would like go on a hike with my dogs and be like sprinting the hills, and like I just kind of poured everything into it, and I was just I was a fucking maniac that prep, and I think I needed to be to get to where I got it. And I haven't really had to do that this year. I've been able to get a response without being such a maniac. Don't get me wrong, I'm still hammering my cardio hard. I still I like to ride the bike, and I'll hammer out big sprints on the bike. Like I'm a big proponent of making my cardio difficult. But that prep, I really just kind of poured it on the whole time.
Right. Is there anything that you're trying to do to maintain your leg size for this prep? Because I know I remember you mentioning before that you feel like you just did the bike a little bit too much, where your like legs just flatten out.
Yeah, I definitely felt like I lost my legs a little. I did. I lost my legs at the end of that prep, and I think a lot of that was from like going super hard, sprinting on the bike, and doing like those hill sprints that I was talking about doing. For me, like,
it's crazy you're fucking doing hill sprints that close to show.
Dude,
That's
I just
insane.
like, I wanted it so bad, and I understand there was like a point of diminishing return where I did too much, and I pushed a little too hard, and my body kind of ran away from me those last few weeks. We couldn't quite keep it up. It was like every day I just kept dropping. I was feeding up, dropping. And yeah, I just kind of pushed a little too hard, but you know, there's value in that, like pushing yourself to that limit, and it worked out. I had a good result, but you know, understanding where that threshold lies, I think is valuable. But you know, right now I'm a little more like, let's say I'm super flat and we're pushing, we're digging. Maybe that day I'm not going to like do my intermittent sprints, and maybe my second session of cardio is just going to be walking, and I'm going to do the walking pad. And I will kind of you know, monitor those things a little bit, and I communicate with my coach about this stuff. But you know, like, you know, when your legs just feel like jello after like 4 or 5 days of pushing really hard.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not the best day to just fucking rip it. You know, maybe you need to pull back a little bit. And that nationals prep, I ripped it every day, brother.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm really glad that I'm glad we're having this discussion right now, especially for my own personal situation too, that hopefully I'll report to the audience like how it goes. But like I've been trying to bring up my legs for the last 2 years since I'm competing in classic. This is going to be really important for me to like not flatten them out with the cardio that I'm doing, since they were already a weak point of mine in the past.
Yeah, for sure.
But like, you know, last prep I was like doing men's physique, so I like didn't give a fuck, man. I was going like 160 beats per minute, just all the Stairmaster.
Yeah, but see, that's good though, because you know how to do that, and you can rip hard. You have to be really objective with yourself, because you'll say that to a guy, and I'm like, you know, I don't know if you're the right guy that needs to hear this. Some people don't need to hear that. Some people need to hear, hey, dude, I need you to lean into this. I don't care how you feel. I need you to fucking keep pushing. And then there's some guys that are maniacs where I'm like, hey, dude, I know you like to go hard. Like I've got some guys that are like, dude, I know you can't help yourself, but please God, today, just don't go so hard. Like I need you to pull back on training volume. I need you to not be a maniac on the cardio machine. So some people, there's, you know, you either have it or you don't. And some people just can't flick that switch. And then some people aren't objective enough to know that in order to earn that ability to pull back, it's because you push the threshold to the fucking limit. And if you're not, then then we're not talking to you. Ignore what we're saying, you know? Yeah.
How was that peak, by the way, for you when you won your pro card?
Man, we just like, I was just looking at it the other day, just kind of assessing it from that peak to our Chicago peak, and I was eating so much more food. I was like 500 plus grams of rice every single meal, and beef and olive oil, and like, you know, Matt had me eat some like cookies and Chick-fil-A. Like we ate a ton of food for that nationals peak. But that's what happens when you drive like a sufficient hole, when you really put yourself in a position to be fed that way, when you're really lean and you are really depleted. You can feed. Like sometimes I just can't feed an athlete because, you know, we just didn't quite achieve that. And some guys, I'm like, hey man, we've buried you. Now we get to reverse, and we can allow ourselves. Sometimes you don't have to be aggressive. You're able to just kind of slowly titrate and build up to that point. But some guys, you're like, hey man, we're just going to hammer the shit out of you because you are soaking this up. And that prep, it's like you couldn't have fed me enough food. And like, it's just a never ending amount of food. It was pretty awesome.
That is crazy, bro. 500 grams. I'm assuming uncooked. 500 grams of every meal.
Of cooked. Yeah, it was cooked. Yeah.
Oh, cooked.
500 grams of cooked rice every meal.
Okay. Yeah. So, that'd be about 140 grams of carbs. I guess 150-ish, maybe.
Yeah, like 150, and then, you know, like, that makes more sense. And everything. Yeah.
That makes more sense.
So, you know, like probably like 800 to 1,000 grams of carbs a day, you know?
Yeah, 2,000 grams of carbs.
Yeah.
I don't know why for a second I was assuming like, because it would be like closer to like 400 grams of carbs if it was uncooked rice, which means, I don't know, I probably was assuming you were eating like 2,000 grams of carbs.
No, dude, that's crazy.
You look fucking big, bro. You look fucking massive. I wouldn't be surprised. Okay, let's do some of these Q&As real quick. You guys didn't have, when you were feeding a lot, you didn't have to implement more diuretics than usual, did you? Or was there any like implementation at all?
That nationals prep, I did like a quarter of diets. I did like an eighth on Thursday, and then an eighth on Friday. Yeah,
I feel like that's kind of typical, or kind of standard.
Should be. You know, some people are
should be.
Some people will get pretty liberal with them,
right? Unless you're like under Chad or something. There's probably a lot.
Yeah, you see some pretty crazy protocols out there. Aldactone every day for the whole week, then a couple diazide at the end. It's like, fucking hell.
Yeah, it's fucking insane, man.
Yeah. I mean, you're with Patrick Tour?
I don't even. Yeah, with Patrick.
Yeah. I know he's pretty modest in his approach.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited to see how it goes. I have no clue what we're gonna shoot for first. I want him to understand that I tend to be someone that like it's easy for me to get watery if I just. It's just easier. It's just easy for me to get watery if I like carb up and shit. So
yeah,
I don't know why. I'm one of those like brown, darker skinned, softer, carb sensitive people.
If that
makes sense.
He's the fucking man, dude. He's a really smart guy. He's a hardcore no cheat meal guy. Does he give you any fun food ever?
No.
No. Fuck that, dude. Bail.
I made a fucking bro. Dude, bro, I fucking had he gives me like a protein shake and like little rice cakes and jam and shit like around my workout.
That's cool.
For some specific like days. And like, cause that's just his thing, the rice cakes and jam. He loves that shit. And I do too. But, one of the days I mixed my protein powder in way less water. So it made it look into like a pudding. Then I put my huge supplements container so I could take an Instagram story and promote code Nile. And then I put, sometimes instead of the rice cakes, I like the rice, like it's like a rice cereal, but it's the same thing. It doesn't have sugar added or anything. And I just sprinkled that on top instead. Posted the story, and he fucking sends a question mark in reply to my story. And I'm like, bro, I swear I'm eating a plan, basically.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, dude, I mean, I think having some autonomy in that type of stuff is important. Like, I work with Justin, and he's got rice laid out, but I'll do cream of rice instead of rice, and he doesn't give a shit. And if I feel like having potato, like we're at an experience level where like I can match my carbs with sweet potatoes if I'm feeling it. And if I digest sweet potatoes, great. And it's like, what's the difference between 30 carbs and sweet potatoes or white rice? Like I think having, like I said, some autonomy in that. And sometimes I'm like, I want something crispy right now, so I will do rice cakes instead of white rice.
Yeah.
So you can probably hear my Frenchie sitting here snoring between my legs.
I fucking love Frenchies. I've been having this really intense argument with my girl for like a few months now on whether or not we're gonna get a Frenchie and a pug, and she's trying to get a pug.
Oh, so. Fuck, they get a Frenchie, dude. And they're great bodybuilding dogs because my Frenchie is so like he's so lazy. Like he'll go out and have fun and go outside and do the damn thing if you want, but he'll also just sit on the couch with you all day when you're in prep and not give a shit. Just completely chill all day.
That's awesome, bro.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Oh, I can't fucking wait to get a dog, dude. I can't. All right. Anyways, let's do this. Let's do these questions. Also, just for a little disclaimer, Patrick is really like he's probably
you have such an issue like sticking to your outline because you'll be like, let's do some questions. But anyway, like I was saying before, and then you go back to questions. Like I was saying before, yeah, definitely some ADHD action, dude.
It's the ADHD.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm the same way, and I like to do callbacks where I'll be like, I'll say something, and then 20 minutes later, I'm still thinking about it, so I gotta go back to it.
It's probably the reason why my podcast run way too long, anyways.
It's all good though. I think it creates a interesting flow of conversation. It's all good. I always think that's the best, most organic way. Like, I don't like getting on podcasts where things feel super structured because I feel like it feels rehearsed, even if it's not. It just can feel less organic.
Yeah.
So.
Right. I'd rather just have a conversation. I mean, honestly, part of the reason why I started the podcast in the first place is I just like fucking having conversations with people. Yeah. Like I always have. And then I just wanted to put myself in a place where, I'm uncomfortable public speaking and stuff. And I just wanted to force myself to do it, for content.
Yeah.
So,
well, you do a good job with it, man.
But thanks, bro. Joseba Parra asks, what's a valuable life lesson you've learned that you apply to bodybuilding? Good old Joseba.
What I will say is that I have never told myself I couldn't do something. And I think the reason I've done the things that I've done is because I've put it out there and I've never really doubted myself. I remember when I first met my wife, we went on a date and we were just kind of talking, and it was like, what are your goals? I was like, I want to own a gym and I want to own a house on the top of a mountain that looks out over a view. And I remember saying that. It was like our first date. And right now I'm looking at my beautiful view, and we own a gym together. And it was like something that I just put out there.
That's
and I was like,
sick.
yeah, like I can, I never told myself I couldn't do it. Like I talked about earlier when I was like, no, I'm going to be on the Olympia stage in 2023. Like I said it, I believed it. And obviously none of these things happen without the hard work to back that shit up. But I think a lot of people doubt themselves. And there's one thing I could tell somebody, like if you actually believe something, speak it and do the work necessary, but believe in yourself and put it out there. I think that's really important.
Fuck. That's fucking awesome, dude. You're inspiring me right now, because that's exactly what my girl and I want to do.
Do it, man.
And
yeah,
we want to get a dog, and we want to fucking smoke weed all the time, and
hell yeah,
all of the above.
Yep.
I know you don't smoke anymore.
But a Frenchie was also part of that plan, so we got our Frenchie as well. It was just kind of like this picture we painted for our lives that we just kind of slowly curated over time.
Yeah, that's dope. Well, I know that it's not part of your life now, and I don't think it was ever part of your life, I guess, when you were bodybuilding. But what are your thoughts on like weed and bodybuilding together, if you have any?
For me, it just doesn't work. Like I'm a fucking idiot when I'm smoking weed. I'm so stupid. I can't talk. I can't think. I can't function. I'm just a way worse version of myself when I'm high, and I don't enjoy it. But I know a lot of people aren't like that. I know a lot of people really enjoy it. Like, Martin Fitzwater, or like I've spent time in Houston with Hunter, where we're at his house and he's just dabbing relentlessly before we go to the gym, and then he's just training like a maniac. We're like, we're gonna go shoot guns, and he's taking dabs before we're shooting guns. So like some people can just function like that. Like my dad, my brother, they're both super high functioning stoners. My dad is a very accomplished professional businessman, and he's stoned all the time, and he's just the man. He's just the fucking man. And I am so not the man when I'm high. I'm not, dude. I lose every bit of what makes me good. I just turn into like a bumbling idiot. Yeah. So I think if it works for you, I think that's great. I know some people say that they get, a little more locked in and can execute the movements and get mind muscle connection. I think it's also important to just be objective and say, hey, am I stoned? And I just feel like that because I'm high. But also if you're a guy that like, hey, it helps people sleep. It can help people with their appetites and can help drive progress, but through more food. Like I think it has its value. And obviously I own a cannabis dispensary, and I see the medicinal value, and I'll bring a lot of value to a lot of people. Most of my customers are going to be just your recreational users, want to come and get a joint and go smoke it by the river and that type of stuff. But I get a lot of people that come in, elderly people with cancer or with just any issues and ailments. And I see a lot of people get a lot of help from it. And I know like my mom got a lot of help from CBD when she was battling with cancer. So there's definitely awesome. a lot of value to the plant, but for me, it just it doesn't work.
Yeah, I'm a big CBD fan. And I think I'm more like you. So like 90% of the time that I do smoke weed has to be when work is turned off, and it's like it has to be when I'm just like in my present rest mode.
For sure.
Well, you already answered this. Vic Bort asks highest growth dosage he ever used.
I've done 8, but that's
assuming that was 8, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say, I'm not going to say that maybe I won't like try 10 next off season and see if that, helps drive progress. I mean, I'm not like anti-drugs. I'm not. Obviously I'm a pro open bodybuilder. But I'm just sharing my experience, and 6 has kind of always been where I feel best. I've done 8 and not really felt much. So I just don't anticipate 10 feeling better than 8, so, but I know a lot of guys that will run 10 and like swear by it. So
I just can't think of any medication in history where it's like the highest is always the best.
Yeah.
Like every medication has its, has its like sweet spot
for sure.
even like someone starting on retatrutide, you know, you don't want to fucking start them on fucking 10 grams of retatrutide, or they will literally die. Jake Zalewski says, dude, let's go. Ask his position in his brother's cannabis company and his usage.
Well, my usage is nothing. It's funny. The last time I really did anything, I got like these CBD gummies, and I was like, okay, cool. I said some CBD gummies. Me and my wife are going to take these, and I didn't realize they were like they weren't quite 1-to-1s, but they had a little bit of THC. I didn't realize it. But it was like 3 milligrams of THC.
Oh, dude. And off the rip, off of not smoking anything for a while.
Yeah. So like I took these gummies, and this is 3-4 years ago. And then I'm just like melting in the couch and shrinking. Next thing you know, I'm like, I feel fucking paranoid and weird. And I look at my wife, and she's feeling the exact same thing. She also just doesn't like it. But that's like my experience. Like 3 milligram gummy like smoked me, dude, and I like hung over the next day. Like I was still high the next day. I just don't have the tolerance. But
that's hilarious.
As far as kind of like my role, obviously I'm the owner. In the very beginning, like, you know, my brother and I bought a bare piece of land. We bought 15 acres, and it had no water, no building, no nothing, no driveway. You know, we put a fence in, we put a driveway in, we installed a well, we put down a 5,000 square foot shop. You know, my brother and I completely hand built all of our water line around the entire property. We dug a 2 million gallon pond. We did a lot of infrastructure where I was boots on the ground and doing all the labor ourselves in the early days. I didn't have any money. So we were just doing it ourselves. You know, I was a guy who was working full-time painting homes with my dad. That's what we did for a living. And then my brother and I would get off of work at like 4 or 5 p.m. We would go to the farm, hand water our fucking plants. A lot of times with like I remember pulling up and having the headlights of my car, lighting up the field so I could hand water my plants. And then we would leave. We'd go to the gym. There was an Anytime Fitness that we went to, and we'd be trained at like 11:30 at night till like 1 a.m. And there was a 24-hour Subway next door. We'd go to Subway. We would get Subway sandwiches and go to bed and start it all over again. That was like my life for years, where I just worked full-time construction and then growing weed on the side, and then still going to the gym because we were just like, we just liked training. You know, I wasn't like a bodybuilder, but it was just part of my routine. So even after all that long day, you know, we training legs at 1 a.m. and then being, you know, up at 6 a.m. the next day to go to work. You know, those cool times, man. It was, you know, I don't know that I could do it now. You know, I mean, I'm sure I could, but, you know, now I've been able to kind of take a step back. I've got, you know, employees and management, and I'm able to delegate. I think that the most important part of being a businessman is being able to communicate and delegate and have people to do this work and facilitate it for you. And, you know, because honestly, I can't be the guy that's running my farm and running my dispensary and running my gym and doing my coaching and creating all my content for YouTube and keeping up on my Instagram and, you know, doing all the things that a husband does. And, you know, just it's a lot, you know, so you need to learn how to delegate. And one thing I will say is, like, there's no place for ego in business. I used to have this, fuck, nobody can do it but me. Like, you know, I would, like, you know, take the hose out of someone's hand. Like, I'll do it. You need to invest in your people. You need to allow people the opportunity to do these things, and you need to build trust and build confidence in your employees to where you can walk away and they fucking got it because you haven't been babysitting the whole time, you know. And it can be a bumpy road, and people are human, and, you know, with those steps back come issues that you know may not have happened if you were there all the time, but those are kind of the labor pains of growth and building multiple businesses.
Gotcha. Sounds like a personal attack.
Yeah.
Fucking 8 years later, I'm still editing my own damn YouTube videos.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's something that I definitely had to work on, was that, you know, no one can do it but me mindset.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely need to work on that a lot. You get pretty shredded though doing construction?
Oh, I mean, definitely, lots of fucking steps. My like working in the field at my farm. Yeah, you get a lot of movement in during the day for sure.
Yeah, I bet. So I go to raves. It gets me shredded.
Yeah, there you go, dude.
It's very handy.
Mm-hmm. Molly and fucking fist bumping gets you peeled.
No, I didn't say it. Pastor Matthew asks, could you get competition lean on burgers, 93.7 beef, double, triple patty for the deficit?
Man, that just sounds like you're really trying to avoid it just adhering to a reasonable diet. When it comes to like whether or not you can eat, I don't think it's a good idea to eat nothing but beef your entire prep. I think you're probably going to need to have some lower fat options because beef is just going to have higher calories. And you're talking about burger buns. And when you're talking about getting really low food and, low body fat, burger bun's not terribly satiating. So you're probably going to be hungrier eating 40 grams of carbs from like this fluffy bun than you would if you were to eat 40 grams of carbs from potatoes or white rice or oatmeal. It's just not practical. This is definitely coming from somebody who's never done this before. So just lose the idea that, could you do it? Maybe. Should you? Don't be a dumbass. That's what I'll say.
Yeah. But once a week, that's fine. As long as you count into your plan.
Your shit's cutting out. I think it's mine, to be honest. I think I have the bad Wi-Fi here, but I just lost you.
Oh, you have. It's been cutting out like every 5 to 10 minutes for the last 2 hours, but it's all right.
Sucks because honestly, I watch on my end. It looks perfect, looks flawless. Of course,
it's probably the recording is probably going to be perfectly fine. Anyways,
I mean, that's care. Riverside's dope like that. It's actually just recording what it's seeing, not the glitches. Sorry, I don't mean to call that guy a dumbass. That's not fair. I just think, it's just not practical and it's not ideal. And I think you get to a certain point where you're better off eating something a little more satiating, something with a little more fiber. Like I said, oatmeal or, potatoes for volume. And then you're probably going to need to get some lean proteins in there that are going to help you drive a deficit more than 93.7 beef.
Yeah. Yeah. In all seriousness. Yeah, I totally agree. You definitely could implement 97.3 beef every now and then or something, but for sure having a variety of meats and then making sure that you're just meeting your deficit needs are probably all you need. Andy Tequila Light asks, how is his wife so strong? It's not normal, LOL.
She's definitely strong. She's, got a powerlifting background. When I met her, that's what she was doing is powerlifting. So big strength background, but she's just a stout, sturdy broad, man. She's tough.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. That's so dope.
Yeah.
My girl's she probably lifts and weighs 1/10 of the weight that I do.
Yeah, no, my wife she deadlifted 405 the other day. And she'll we're doing the leg press together and I have 8 plates aside and she did 7.5.
Mm-hmm.
So it's fuck.
Wow, that's insane.
Yeah. Granted, I did extensions first, so I was a little pre-fatigued, but still, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's a little little emasculating.
Klugs asks, what are the main movements that you do to get those massive arms?
Genetics, dude. I don't really train my arms that much. I do train them, and I'm not gonna say that I don't train them, but I've just always had bigger arms. I literally don't train my calves at all, and I have great calves. So I'm the wrong person to ask for this. But I will say I train them intelligently. I train them hard. I just don't have to give them the energy that someone would have to who doesn't have the genetic propensity for arm growth that I do.
Yeah.
It just kind of is what it is. How much
volume do you have for the arms?
So to be honest, I hate training arms. It's just so boring to me. So I do a chest and shoulders on Tuesday where I do 1 bicep movement, 1 tricep. And then I do chest and shoulders on Saturday where I do a bicep and a tricep. So I just kind of touch them once here and touch them once there. That way, weekly volume is 7 sets for biceps and triceps, something like that. 8 sets. Yeah.
What about when you first started blowing up and everything? Was the program about the same?
No, it was different. Yeah. I used to have an arm day. So I used to
Okay.
I used to every Friday or Saturday or something for years. I would bang arms. So I think there's some value in it. I think that's how I built my arms. But I've always just had better arms and I just don't have to give them, like I really need to bring up my back and my legs. So just for me to hammer a lot of arm volume or volume on body parts that I don't need to improve that much just doesn't make sense. So it's tough because you want to give someone the answer on how to grow their arm, but it's like it's just not applicable for what I'm doing is not going to be applicable for you because I don't need to have that much.
Genetics, right?
Yeah.
I think what you said though is decently applicable because I think there's a lot of merit to be said and a lot of importance to be put into order of importance when you're doing your workout.
Yeah.
So if you're doing an arm day and you're starting off with triceps and biceps, I think there's going to be a lot of growth that comes from that, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I'm a big proponent of frequency. I think that weekly volume split in half across 2 days is actually going to yield a better result than if you were to do that whole volume on one day. And, maybe I'm wrong, but that's my personal feelings. I think that novel stimulus twice a week opposed to just all that volume once a week, I think is better.
How is your training structure right now? Do you try to prioritize on having like a frequency of at least 2 times per week for all your muscle groups?
Yeah. So I train everything twice a week. Monday, I do back and legs. It's like a back and hamstring day where I do a leg press for quads. Tuesday, I do chest, shoulders, arms. Wednesday, I take off. Thursday, I do a full leg day. So I'm training quads and hamstrings again. Friday, I train back, full back day again. And then Saturday, I do chest, shoulders, and arms again.
Nice.
So yeah, it's everything twice a week. Yeah.
You train 6 days a week?
No. I train. I train 5 days? Yeah. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Sorry, there's just so many fucking questions, bro. You got so many questions. I'm just trying.
That's
to
dope. That's cool, man. I'm glad to hear that. Sometimes I feel like nobody cares.
I feel like that all the time.
Yeah, for sure.
I get it. Josh Lebanon asks, what is something you wish you started doing sooner in your bodybuilding journey?
I think just training a little more intentional and precise. I think, we talked about how I was, doing a lot of supersets and, not prioritizing, not logging my training, not being, as intentional as I should have been, being progressive with food. I was just things I could have been doing sooner that would have helped me. But to be honest, I'm happy with where I'm at. So I don't have any like injuries that I did anything foolish in the past that caused or health issues. I was lucky enough to start a bodybuilding journey being very health conscious and had good guidance training, so I don't really have any regrets or anything. But yeah, I would have maybe just been a little more, and I hate to say this because I think that the training culture and the science guys and the word optimal just drives me bananas. So I don't even want to say it, but I wish I would have just been maybe a little more optimal.
I hate how it's like that now.
I know. It sucks because they're just putting, they're shining a bad light on something that's actually really good and should be a topic of conversation. But it's just, it's so blown out of proportion, and there's so many guys putting out bad info. And to be honest, a lot of these guys know they're putting out shitty info. It's just rage bait. They want you to comment. Yeah. They post stupid fucking shit on purpose to try to get a lot of conversation going and have people, make stitch responses. It's unfortunately it's intentional. And it's like, I'm going to put out this really, really bad information because so many creators are going to make videos about me and tell me how stupid I am. I'm going to have 900 comments on this one post. But then there's a lot of people, since that content's circulating so heavily, that they're believing this stuff. I'm like, dude, the guy that made that video doesn't even believe it, man. Trust me. This is a 110-pound kid who's making fun of Hani Rambod. You don't listen to him. This guy is making fun of fucking Phil Heath, dude. Just stop.
Yeah.
It's tough. But yeah, I would have been a little more intentional with my training, and I would have paid attention to, whether or not I was being progressive. I would have logged my training a little sooner.
Cool. This is kind of a follow-up of, because you mentioned regret. A follow-up in his question was, what is your biggest regret in developing your physique? if you have any.
I don't really have
calves,
one.
Isn't it?
It's the calves. I should have been hammering these fucking things. I think that I did and there's nothing wrong with this. I did a bro split for a long time where I wasn't training with the frequency, and I was just like nailing every body part and not like my legs needed to come up, but I wasn't training them twice a week. I should have been training them twice a week. My back was sucked, and I would just train it once a week, and I didn't even think about it. I should have been training it twice a week. So those things that, like, in hindsight, I would have been a little more. There's a lot of guys that don't need to worry about that stuff where specificity doesn't matter and you just need everything to grow. But I ignored that for too long to where I had 22-inch arms and no back, So I would have been addressing the weak points a little sooner.
Gotcha. Yeah. How much volume would you say that you had on those back days? Like how much volume for back specifically? Do you remember how many sets?
Man, I don't remember. I wasn't paying any attention at that time. I didn't even have a clue. It was just nothing even crossed my mind. If somebody asked how many sets I said, I don't fucking know. I would just keep going if it felt good. And I would do a drop set here and a superset there. And, an extra movement here. Like it just, there's just no rhyme or reason.
Right.
And that's kind of what I'm referring to. I would have structured things a lot better.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like there's any, this is one of the questions actually that I wanted to ask. I'm trying to find this guy's question, but he was asking, like, what do you prefer, like, or what do you think is better, like drop sets or rest pause sets or etc. I'm trying to find it.
I mean, I think I like both as far as like set extenders, like intensifiers. I think it just kind of depends on the movement. There's some stuff where I really appreciate a rest pause set for the continued load exposure, like something heavy like a chest press where like, I'm going to hit that 315 on incline and those failure reps, I'm going to do that 3 different times. And that, that load exposure on those big, muscles, big body parts, I think it carries a ton of value. Where if I'm talking about like a lateral raise or a bicep curl, I would probably prefer the drop set to prioritize a little more blood flow instead of load exposure. Like you can still take those sets to failure, those subsequent sets to failure and still drive this, a similar stimulus. But I think that when you're talking about like a bicep curl or tricep extensions, you need to be thinking about tendon strength and maybe repeating those top end loads over and over isn't the best thing for your joints. So something like arm movements or lateral raises just might be a little more conducive to do something like a drop set to drive that extra volume in a set.
Gotcha. I love the specificity that you always mention whenever you're talking about training and stuff, because I think I think those are things that I just wish I said. Literally, I wish I exactly said like about like the lateral raise versus like doing your hack squat. There is like I do the exact same thing where I'll end up doing partials at the end of my lateral raise to get as much out of it as I can. And I think it's almost like in those lateral raises, you just that's how you can reach that failure point properly. Because at a certain point, otherwise you start engaging things like your traps and shit, versus like in a hack squat, you can kind of focus on your quads and your glutes the entire time until at some point it's just like, I can't do the next rep.
Definitely. And honestly, how much fatigue are you going to incur on a lateral raise? Like it's a super low impact, low CNS. Like you can hammer 4 sets in a row where you did 10 partials and then walk away just fine and continue to go do a press. Dude, you do that on a deadlift or a hack squat or a leg press and you go and extend your set like that, you're going to be dealing with some actual issues. So it's just not smart. So I don't think the blanket, RIR is the best approach. I think that while I might train RIR here, I might blast failure and 5 forced reps with my training partner who's going to help me get nice full range of motion on the last 5 lateral raises, and then I'll do a few partials, which is going to look completely different than what I just did on the hack squat. I might save 1 rep in reserve there. So I don't take a one size fits all approach when it comes to that type of stuff at all.
Trevor Wheat asks, do you still think the gear was fake for the Chicago prep after the Jansen fallout?
Yeah, it wasn't about fake gear. I mean, this has nothing to do with Matt. I was not getting a response from the gear I was taking, and I switched gear and I got a response. This has nothing to do with Matt. But what was happening was I was having a bad response to the gear where I was holding a ton of water. And I think, to be honest, AIs, and this was reflected in my blood work, my AIs were not legitimate. So when I actually switched to legitimate Arimidex, yeah, my E2 lowered, I dropped water, and my physique reflected that. So there was no question whether or not it was fake gear. It's just I had legitimately bunk, ancillaries, and I felt the Clen, I was not getting a response. You ever take 80 micrograms of Clen and just don't feel anything? I was taking 80 micrograms and I didn't feel anything. Then I got pharmaceutical grade Clen and I took 80 micrograms and I thought I was gonna have a fucking heart attack. So I mean, yes, these things were not legitimate, and it greatly impacted my look, my prep, everything. So yeah, the Jansen, it had nothing to do with Matt. It's just I just had bogus gear.
That's cool. That's crazy though that I never even thought about like someone having bunk Arimidex or bunk AIs.
Yeah, I mean it's a thing, and it's I always like to make sure, like my clients, I just need you to make sure your T3, your Clen, your AIs, these type of things that can actually drastically impact the look or the fat loss trajectory, like these things that we're leaning into. Obviously diet's always going to be the main driver, but these things can be a huge assistance in our preps. And I need to make sure this is legitimate, because if we're not getting the response, and I was taking Mast Prop Trenace and Test Prop, and I was like watery, and taking Winstrol, I was like watery. So when I switched all those oils, like, you should not be like, it looked like I was taking Deca and Anadrol. That's what it looked like. That's what my physique looked like.
Yeah.
So like when I switched sources, I fucking flushed a ton of water, got way harder, got drier, and it actually looked like I was taking the, pharmaceuticals that I was actually supposed to be taking. So.
G-Build asks, which improvements made the most improvements on your back density? Which movement made the most improvements?
I don't know of any movement in particular. I will say that I've always prioritized like a hinging movement. A lot of people will like poo-poo a deadlift or like a bent over row, but I think that you should always have one movement where you are fully pitched over the weight. Your spine is taking the brunt of the load. You're not chest supported. You're not bracing with your hand. Your back is taking all of the load, and you are rowing or hinging or deadlifting. I think that's super important. So I deadlift on Mondays on my back and hamstring day, and then I will always do some form of hinging row, whether it's like a T-bar or a Smith machine row or a bent over double dumbbell row, something that I'm not braced and I'm just completely pitched over parallel with the floor rowing.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Even though I haven't always implemented it.
Yeah, I think it translates, and you want nice thick erectors. Well, challenge those fucking things, and it's not going to happen sitting on a chest support T-bar or your favorite pull down machine.
25 Lamb asks, Jesus Christ, what is bro's bicep measurements?
I don't really know. I mean, I've measured in the off season and been, seen 22 inches. To be honest, I don't think my arms are that big. I just have small joints. I have small elbows, small wrists. Yeah. No, I'm serious. And I have great insertions, and they're bubbly and round. Like, let's see. It's like not that crazy big. It's just like really round, and my elbows are small. So I mean, don't get me, like I said, I have measured and had them like 22 inches in the off season. They're probably 21 and some change right now, maybe 21 right now. Which is a big arm, don't get me wrong, but like Nick Walker's arms are 24, like, Crizzo's arms are 24. Hunter Labrada has like 23 and some change. So like in comparison to some of the open guys where people might think we have the same size arm, we don't. I have, it's illusions because I have small wrists and small elbows and nice insertions and round muscle bellies.
It's okay to have big orexia, bro. I understand. I'm the same way.
Yeah, my dick's tiny too. It's crazy. I don't want to show you.
Meditate with Dane asks, what is one thing that you would change about this first Mr. Olympia experience? About your first Mr. Olympia experience?
I would have got there on time. That first Mr. O, I felt like that was my best look of the year. I was definitely better than Chicago. I was in better conditioning. The peak was way better. I was in my hotel room. So we did the athletes meeting, and they were like, hey, the year before they got roasted because, athletes sat backstage for hours and everyone was pissed, and, the internet attacked the Olympia. So they're like, listen, guys, we're probably going to go on stage, like be there by 9:30. And honestly, there might still be a wait, like just, forewarning you guys. So 8:45 rolls around, 8:50, and I'm eating some food. Matt had me get, Chick-fil-A. Had me get some Chick-fil-A fries. So I'm eating some fries at like 8:45 and my phone rings. And I'm at my hotel. And it's one of the expediters, and she says, where are you at? We are starting. I said, what the fuck, dude? You guys said like 9:30 and you said I was still going to wait. They said, I don't care. We said, you got to get here. Get here now.
Holy shit.
I said, what the fuck? And I'm eating French fries. I said, fuck.
Holy
so
shit.
like Matt, I called Matt because I was going to Uber, and Matt's like, take my Escalade, fucking get here as soon as possible. I got his keys, and I'm driving his fucking huge Escalade, and I'm blazing. I'm going as fucking fast as I can. I'm driving like a maniac. Sorry, Matt. I had to fucking get there. So I rip into the fucking parking lot, and I'm stressed out, dude. I'm like, they're starting without me, and I'm parking. They're like, whose car is this? This is like, what room number? I said, I don't fucking know the room number. Take the key. Fucking, this is where Matt was staying. Like, he's staying. Just take the fucking key, valet. Just fuck off. And I hand him the keys and I run. And I'm running through the expo hall, and I'm like full fledged, like booking it. I'm fucking sprinting. It's November in Florida. I'm wearing a hoodie and sweatpants, and I'm booking it. And I get backstage, and they're like, get glazed, get pumped now. I'm like, fuck, and I'm super stressed out. And I immediately strip off my hoodie and I start pumping up. And I'm just like panic pumping. I'm just like fucking lateral raises, curls, fucking presses. I'm just going nuts. And they start glazing me, and I'm pumping. And then I'm like sweating, and I'm like fucking panicking. And the fucking fries I just had are sitting weird in my stomach. I go, what the fuck? This is fucking a disaster, dude. This is a fucking disaster. And Matt comes back and says, calm the fuck down, dude. Chill. They rush us backstage. I get backstage, and I'm like, fuck. I'm like kind of sweating and glazed and got a shitty pump, and I'm just stressed and my mind's fucked. It's my first Olympia. I go, God damn it. And then I sit backstage for a fucking hour before I go on stage. Like, what the fuck? Yeah. I'm like back there for like 45 minutes. And like during that time, I pump up like 3 times. And then by the time I got to stage, I look like shit, dude. Like, not to make excuses, but like, damn, my showing was just bad. I just looked bad. And like I had this film over my stomach. I was like bloated from the fries. I could just see the stress on my body. It was just like not good. So yeah, I would get backstage and just be there ready. And that's what I did the next night. I got there like 2 hours early and just like laid down backstage, ate some food, chilled. I looked way better the next night. Didn't matter. I was already in 15th place. They already didn't give a shit about me. I totally blew it, and it is what it is. I'm not convinced I would have done a whole lot better. I think there's some guys I could have beat if I would have just been, managed that a little bit better. But yeah, that was a fucking disaster. It really sucked. So I kind of blame them and blame myself at the same time.
No, I get that. I would blame them too. Anyways, they have a good little like streak of being able to sometimes scare the shit out of you an hour before you get up there.
I wish I would have.
It's not the Federation's fault.
Yeah, I wish I would have just had a cooler head and known like, okay, 212 awards are still going on. Like, I'm fine. I actually have the time, but I wasn't thinking like that, and like they were rushing me back, and yeah, I allowed the stress to get the best of me.
I think, well, first, it always just depends on the person who's actually like putting people in order, in my opinion. And then two, there's a lot of people that say that, like, you know, if you did the prep well enough and then you got shredded enough, then you're ready. And I just like totally disagree with that, because people really understate just how important it is to walk on that stage and take the last few days stress-free, or at least as stress-free as you possibly can, you know?
Yeah, it makes like a profound difference. That stress can make your physique, make or break your physique for sure.
Mm-hmm. And the posing too, just like it's like just how smooth you are on stage versus like if you're shaking and if you like trip over yourself and all these things, which always happen if you're just not prepared. You know, you're not just like sitting there in this parasympathetic state, taking deep breaths. It just ruins the look. And it ruins the performance. It ruins all of it.
I'm always like hesitant to bring that up because I don't ever want to feel like I'm making excuses for, you know, a bad showing, but that's what happened. And it definitely, I know it affected things. But yeah, coming into this year, you know, God willing, I'm doing the Olympia again. I'll be able to manage that a lot better. And, you know, we talked about this before where you're like, how do you manage these experiences without having something like that happen? Like it's like a blessing to have that happen and realize that next time, like now you understand the repercussions of one, being late, but two, just how, you know, poorly your body can respond to stress. And so.
Mm-hmm. All right. Last Q&A, because I know you're hungry and I fucking kept you long enough. But
I'm starving.
You could tell, you don't have to answer this, but you could ask what happened with you and Bro Chat.
You know, I don't know, man. I mean, I do know. Obviously, I was really close friends with Fouad. I love the guy. I still love the guy. And like, I still consider him a friend of mine. And that relationship meant a lot to me. But you know, he found me before I was a pro, and you know, he took me under his wing, and he was honestly like a mentor to me, and he helped me a lot and gave me a ton of exposure through his platform. And you know, we traveled together, and we were brothers, man. I miss those times. They were good times. Mm-hmm. And I think when I left, it just felt like a betrayal to him, and I totally understand that. Mm-hmm. And I regret that it went down that way. And I've tried really hard to kind of mend it. And if anybody knows Fouad, he's a pretty hard-headed guy, you know, and I think I hurt him and I upset him. And I don't think it just doesn't seem like he has any interest in kind of mending things. And it's a shame because I like I said, I still consider the guy a friend. And you know, the business side of things, like when I was with Hostile, you know, I'm a super busy guy. Like, you know, how it was hard to lock me down. It was like the same thing, like filming YouTube content. He was always had to be on top of me. I'm like, oh man, I business stuff, you know, and like I'm too busy. And he was, you know, kind of getting on top of me because I wasn't always able to perform exactly what he required of me. And I remember at the time I was like, you know, I feel like if I was able to be with a different company, like maybe this would actually improve our friendship, because it felt like sometimes the stress of the obligations and the commitment to Hostile was like a hindrance on our relationship. So there was a part of me that thought maybe if we you know, I went a different direction, that our friendship would be better and there wouldn't be that strain from like a business perspective. You know, it didn't go that way. And I'll also be honest, I think, you know, Nate, I haven't really heard anything. He hasn't really told me. I don't really know. But, you know, when I parted ways, I was in contest prep. I think I was like 8 weeks out or something. And the internet went fucking nuts. You know, like there's so many videos made and like the comment sections were fucking crazy. And I know that I, you know, was responsive during that time. And like, you're in a contest prep and I probably said some shitty things that I shouldn't have said. Like, I know that, I may not have handled myself the best during that time. Again, this isn't anything that Fouad's told me. I mean, I'm just kind of guessing as to, you know, what really was like the draw the line in the sand moment for him. You know, maybe I wish I had the opportunity to talk to him. I said something that crossed the line, and if so, I would love the opportunity to kind of address that and apologize. But I just don't know. But I massively appreciate Fouad for everything he did for me. I love the guy. I still consider him a friend of mine. I care for him a lot. I'm really happy to see his company doing so well. I wish him nothing but the best. And, obviously I hope someday we can kind of mend that relationship because he's my friend and I miss him. That's kind of the long and the short of it. And I hope his recovery is going well. It's a really scary thing that happened to him. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know what else I can say about that, but yeah.
No, I think that was very well said, man. Very. I ask one last question at the end of every podcast.
All right,
to the guests, but if you were to disappear from the world tomorrow and you had one message you could send to the entire world today, what would the message be?
Oh, you son of a bitch. That's a big one. It's profound. Man, sounds stupid, but just do what you love, man. That's really important. I think that committing and going all in on something that makes you happy there's nothing more rewarding than that. And I don't think enough people take those chances. And a lot of people, put themselves in positions where, whether it's outside influences or, what people might think or financial obligations, which can be really, really tough and detracting. Find a way, do what you love.
Yeah, that was stupid, bro. That was awesome.
Thanks, man.
No, it's even though it's been said before, it's super understated, man.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I feel like there's such a lack of purpose and such a lack of like desire to keep going.
Life's too short to just do stuff that you hate, and just there's so much value in just like going all in and committing to just what you truly love. Obviously, maybe it's a little bit easier for me to say that because I'm in a position where I make a good living off of what I love. It didn't come easy. It wasn't like a mistake. Like I worked hard and I earned it. I worked 2 jobs and started businesses and built, a good foundation. And then I was able to commit to bodybuilding and now I'm able to make a living off of it. So I'm in a position now where I can say these things, and not everybody is, and it may not feel like they can get there, but it's a long road. But if you really love something and you want to do that, find a way to make it happen because there's nothing like it.
Awesome. Thanks for that, bro. Thank you.
Yeah.
Where can everybody find you?
Find me on Instagram, Justin Shier, Justin_Shier, YouTube. I haven't posted on TikTok in a long time, but I'm on there as well. But Instagram is really my main place.
Cool. What about your coaching? How can people find you if they're interested?
Yeah, you can go to my Instagram. I have a coaching form on my Instagram bio. I have a lot going on. So like the coaching thing is probably the smallest aspect of what I do as far as my business goes. But I just generally love helping people. So you can, apply there or just send me a message in my DMs and we can chat. And I'd love to help.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on, bro. Again.
Of course, man.
This was really dope.
Yeah, it's fun.
Sorry for keeping you for so long again.
Don't worry about it, bro. Now I actually get to jam like a few meals back to back and eat a little eat a little more frequently. So I'm all good.
Sick, bro.
Cool. All right, man. Well, thank you, dude. I appreciate it. And sorry again. It took so long to make this happen, but I'm glad we did it.
No, I am too, man. I am too, and I know the audience is gonna love it a lot.
Cool. Right on, brother.
All right.
All right, man. Bro. Peace.